Thank you. This is a meeting of the Concord Middle School Building Committee. Today is Thursday, September 22nd. I'm looking at the date and not processing it, September 22nd. So good morning, everyone. I don't even have an agenda in front of me to call roll, so give me 1 second. Ian, do you have it open? Is Ian even?
Sorry, I do not, but
I have it.
Does it? Okay, Susan, do you mind? I need to find my copy. It wasn't in I don't know. I couldn't find the email.
No problem.
Would you just call roll of the voting members for me?
Sure thing. Alexa Anderson.
Present.
Court Booth.
Present.
Heather Bout.
Present.
Frank Cannon.
Yeah.
He's here. Oh, he's not even muted. He's trying to answer for him.
Peter Fashalis.
Present.
Dawn is here. Let's see, Matt. Lori Hunter.
Present.
Thank you. Matt Johnson.
Present.
Pat Nelson. She's not present today, correct?
Yeah, Pat is maybe joining by audio while she's driving to Boston for an all-day meeting. So she may be here. And
I see her. I see a box that's her with her photo.
Yeah, I think she's in her car.
There doesn't appear to be any rain.
Okay.
Could everyone please mute? Thank you.
Chris Popoff. Thank you.
Present.
Thank you. Charlie Parker.
present.
Matt Root.
Present.
And let's see, is it Steve Stashewski?
Present.
Great.
Thank you,
Well,
Susan.
everyone.
I appreciate it. I
No
now have
problem.
my copy, so I'll be prepared for future votes if we have any. So thank you very much.
No
Looks
worries.
like the first order on the agenda is correspondence. Heather, have we had any?
Yes, sorry, we have had some. Let me get, oh, whoops, and mine got blocked. God, Don, I'm having the same problem you are this morning. Okay, here it is. It wouldn't pull up. So we have had several emails since our last meeting. Basically, some of them, actually, sorry. Oh, it's not showing. Sorry, we're here. Okay, here we go. Since our last one, there were, sorry, 1, 2, 3, 4. Usually I have the number, sorry, 5, 6. And the first few of them were before the select board meeting and along the same themes of the last one, asking the select board to call a special town meeting. 2 of them were after the select board meeting. 1 of them just asking the same thing, and 1, actually, sorry, 2 specifically responding to that meeting and asking the select board to look further into the 60 versus 90 degree estimate timing. All of those were to the select board copying us.
Great. Thank you, Heather. I trust folks have seen those, read those, and yeah, just an update. Pat, Lori, and I, and our professionals, Ian and Lorraine via Zoom, were at the select board meeting on Monday night, and I couldn't tell you if anyone was in the audience. Oh, Heather was there in person, but there might have been others on Zoom. Thank you if anyone joined. We can brief everyone on what happened there. Do you want me to do that, Matt? Do you want to do it? Just to give folks an update.
Go ahead, Dawn.
Okay, I'll do my best.
I
If I
can
miss
fill in if
something
needed.
or if I'm inaccurate, by all means, let me know. But I guess this sort of moves us into the value management piece of the agenda, but I just want to give everyone an update on that. We, for the second time, or is it third, been in front of the select board recently. And we were let them know about where we are in the process, where we are with value management, that no matter where we land, we believe it might be hard to get to what we're calling the option C, which is the at budget building, just because it would not be able to accommodate all of the things that we're trying to do, meet the educational plan, meet the community desires, and also the net zero ready qualities of the building. So we feel, no matter where we land at the end of value management, we think we'll need more money than the town appropriated earlier this year. So with a vote, after much discussion, many questions, understanding where we are and what the process moving forward will be, the select board voted 4-1 to open up a special town meeting. All the dates will be coordinated with town moderator. Carmen was at the meeting, and we appreciate her patience as we navigate this, and all the town employees who need to do all the work ahead of any special town meeting. There would also be a ballot that came up at the prior meeting we attended, and agreed that with the select board that there should be a ballot as well as a special town meeting. So all of that's in flux as far as, I think Matt had 4 different possible scenarios of timing, narrowed it down to sort of 2, going off the 60% at CD set. Oh, look at you. Is that Ian or is that Matt sharing?
It's me.
Thank you. And then ultimately, I think the select board was in preference for having it after we have the 90% in hand, which would be at some point in January, mid-January, I think the 13th. Yep. So the 90% would be shared out at our January 6th and these are all possible, meaning nothing's confirmed. So I believe the motion was to prepare to have it after the 90% estimate was in hand to this committee. A week may be tight. We talked a little bit about that and our professionals can weigh in. I think we're going back in 2 weeks, Matt, remind me of the date.
Yeah, October 3rd.
Yep, with more information and more discussion happening as far as timing is concerned. But just so everyone knows, this is the scenario that was preferred by the select board. And we, have started conversations with the professionals to confirm that these dates could in fact be concrete as far as information. Sorry, I am gonna get out of the background of my kids this morning. I just needed a minute. So apologies for them in the background. But so anyway, so that came out of Monday night's meeting. We appreciate the support by select board. I know Peggy Briggs wasn't present. She's the chair of the finance committee. They have this topic on their agenda this evening. Lori is going to be there on the school budget and will be prepared to answer questions if they have any. I'm going to try to join. It's a busy night. I'll cut back to school and kids programs for my family, but if anyone is interested, FinCom will be discussing this and the cost, the timeline, et cetera, I assume this evening.
Yeah, I think
Did I do an okay
the
job?
other thing I think that was a focus of the discussion that I should mention is one of the implications of having a schedule like this. While on the one hand, it does give voters better information, because by the time we get to special town meeting, we would have a 90% estimate in hand that presumably could be used to go to bid. And so, folks could vote on a motion that would more or less assure we could go to bid. But the downside of waiting this long for the special town meeting is that it means that the construction documents will essentially be going all the way to completion before we have a townwide vote. And so that means that should either the special town meeting or the townwide vote fail, the work that has been done, the design work that has been done in the interim would essentially be sunk cost. And indeed, the terms of the contract with our architects will need to be modified to allow them, in effect, to proceed, with this at-risk design, with them not assuming all the risk, which they would under their current contract. So that's another of the things that we came out with as a directive from the meeting, was to, get clarity on what kind of revised terms with the architects would be negotiated. And then I guess the third thing, of course, is what we're about here this morning, which is to continue to work to reduce the overall scope and cost of the building to the extent possible. And so let's move to that.
Excellent. Good segue, Matt. And thank you for that additional information. So does anyone have any questions on that before we move into the meat of our meeting? trying to be efficient here today. We have a lot to do and I want to be respectful.
I do quickly, Dawn, sorry.
Yeah. Oh, hey, Heather, I didn't even see, your
Um,
hand kind of blends into the wall color.
Okay, I'm sorry.
What's up?
So I had a question on, I guess, on the risk that we're taking. Matt just highlighted one half of it, which is the fact that the professionals will be working at risk. At the meeting, though, I know Ian and Lorraine and Lori all mentioned some concerns about the timing due to just the tight time frame and the fact that it doesn't leave any room for error. It's so tight, but from the time that we get that town meeting approval to a few days later having to go out to bid, that concerned me a little, but we didn't hear a lot about it. And I don't want to drag this out, but is it possible to hear just a little bit from the professionals on what the risk is of that tight timing there? Just because, so that we need to know, because if there's no room for error, we need to know that as we go through this.
Great question.
Yeah, could I just
Go
respond?
ahead, Lori.
Please.
That's the task we were charged with leaving the meeting, and that's the work we're doing now with Hill and SMMA.
Got it.
To
Okay.
be sure we're gonna understand that. I felt, and Matt, correct me if I got it wrong, I felt like that was research we owed them before we meet again with them on October 3rd. We're gonna need to meet again next week as a building committee. I'd like to have that research kind of in hand to share with this committee prior to the select board. But that we haven't got solid yet.
Perfect. I'll
We
wait
need
then.
to really stay focused on VE this morning. That's the only reason I'm also kind of intervening and asking to wait till next week.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Could I just jump in and note one other thing that we
Yes.
talked about in the select board meeting, which was clearly at this stage, if we're having the meeting this late, there is not any opportunity to offer options to the town. We really will be coming in with one option, well, there's the default option, which is our current budget. But we will be coming in with a design. It will be, in fact, designed by that point. And so really it will be up to the town to approve a design that we now, will have to come up with as our consensus proposal. So that is a change from, I think, how we previously envisaged this process, where we would have sort of, A, B, C, D, options that perhaps voters could choose among. But I think one of the thoughts that came out of that meeting was we were all, as a committee, seemed to be coalescing around one set of options. And then secondly, that it's already too late by the time we get to any town meeting, even if we did it ASAP, to effectively offer options without impacting the schedule.
Right, that's a good distinction, Matt. Thank you. There was clarity on putting forward essentially what we're calling option B, which is not where we were, a few weeks ago, or what the town voted on. That would have been A, where we were with BM a few weeks ago, versus C, which is the at budget building, but somewhere in the middle. So given that, I think when we had talked about options, I guess we were hoping that the special town meeting could happen earlier, but given the timing, it makes sense to put one design in front of the town. So thank you for that distinction, Matt. Heather, your hand's still up. Do you have another?
It is
question?
only because, but this is not another question. I have a quick correction to the correspondence report.
Oh, okay,
I realized
sure.
I had, is now the time. Very quickly, sorry, and apologize that my folder I usually look at wasn't loading. So I missed a few, they didn't show up. There were actually 9 emails since last time, not 6. And the 2 themes I mentioned were the same, but there was one other, which was a request to publicize or share all of the detailed estimates behind the VE list that we're looking at. So I just want to make sure I covered all the correspondence because I missed those the first time. Sorry about that.
Thank you, Heather. And I believe that detailed estimate was shared with the request, the public records request that we received. I don't know if we can get that onto the website. It's all public information, but I'll work with Lori if that's possible. But all right, great. Thank you for those corrections. All right, Ian, shall we? Oh, and one other thing, I trust everyone got my email saying thank you for all the time we've put into this. Thank you for all the effort. We've had a lot of discussion. I don't know that there are many people that have followed along with every minute and second and hour that we've spent on this. So I trust that, our community trusts us in being fiscally responsible and having the tough conversations that we're having. So I appreciate everyone hanging in there and going through this process. It's not easy. A lot of thoughtful questions, comments, suggestions have come up, and we appreciate all of it. And just want to remind everyone that the CD set goes to the estimators next week. And some of this intense VE and weekly meetings has definitely caused the designers to have to take time away from putting those documents forward to the estimators. So we just want to be respectful of making decisions in a timely manner that they can then get the information to the estimators. And at a certain point, we have to call it complete as far as the process to get to a decision as far as the option B to put forward to the town. There are, and we think it's Lorraine and a handful of people. Everyone should know it's probably 25, 30 people working on all these documents, between engineers, consultants, doing coordination, detailing. The level of detail that goes into these drawings is substantial. So I just want to be respectful that we give them the information they need so they can get the documents done, so that we have the tightest estimates we can, both at 60 and 90%. So with that, let's get right into what needs to be covered today as far as the balance of VM items that have not been voted on or had consensus on, and see if we can make decisions on what's left. Ian, I trust you have the.
Yep. Yeah, I've got everything here.
Perfect.
So thank you.
And just, sorry, one more thing. In my email, I recognize Lorraine's on an airplane right now. Just so you know, so Matt Rice is with us again. Last week, poor Lorraine was sick with COVID. Now she's traveling. So we appreciate, she's been doing a lot of work nonetheless. And her team is here, Jen Souza and Matt Rice. We're in good hands. We also have Mike Dowen, and there may be others from SMMA, but I'm sorry if I'm not seeing you on my screen, but just want to recognize their team is here. They've got answers if we've got questions, and they're ready to address any of these topics in Lorraine's absence. So take it away, Ian. Where are we?
So you guys can see my screen here. Just want to breeze through this real quick and highlight what's been accepted to date. You guys should have received this already. I made a slight revision. SMMA caught one thing for language that we needed to change surrounding 57B. So that was the update yesterday, just making sure that the language is consistent with the actual value management that we're doing. So previous meeting, we talked about reducing ceramic wall tile in the restrooms, bringing it down to a 6-foot height. So just wanted to make sure that language was clear. And we were able to put a value to that of $183,944. So that was one item that was accepted, and we were able to put a value to. So,
question, Dawn.
Yes, Court.
You dropped epoxy reference. Was that deliberate? Help us understand.
Yeah, Dawn, I can jump in there. So
Sure,
Court, yep. So the epoxy paint that was previously going to be on the non-wet walls was something that we had in there just to preserve the washability of those surfaces.
Right.
Up high above the 6 feet, we may look at the epoxy paint up there, but it wasn't really sort of the main driver of the value engineering item. And I think probably the 183,944 probably does represent that anyway, because that was the math that was already established in terms of switching from tile to epoxy paint. So we could still have it above the tile if that's preferable, but we can review that in some more detail and figure out whether it's worth the additional costs and effort.
But it's in the number now,
It is.
and so we might as well list it if it's preferable for a bathroom environment.
For what it's worth, epoxy paint is definitely washable, but it makes the walls look kind of plasticky. It's got a shine to it that I don't always love. It's better on CMU in my opinion, because it feels more natural. So just from an aesthetic standpoint, if we determine you're saying that's what's above the tile right now, Matt, in the number?
Yeah, that's.
So
in
maybe
terms-
just on the comment here, just say with epoxy paint above or something, just make a comment, but.
Yeah, I mean, I would suggest that we let the architects decide
Yeah,
what goes up there, honestly. I
But
mean, that's-
I pointed out simply because we're de facto making decisions here, so I want to make it clear what we're deciding.
okay, so Ian, if you could just add with epoxy paint above, and if the architects determine that it's not necessary, that it's quite high and it doesn't, it's honestly epoxy paint versus regular paint, in my opinion, is not a huge cost differential. It's material.
No, I'm not hung up on the item. I'm hung up on making sure we're thorough. You know, if something disappears off a list, I think we've got to note it.
Yeah, I think the premise of that was that it would previously replace the tile in the lower level, but now that the tile is at what height did we say, 6 feet?
6 foot.
Yeah, so, okay, thank you, Court. Keep going, Ian.
Yep. Any other questions on the accepted list? Should be pretty straightforward.
Have any of the numbers changed, Ian?
No. What do you mean? What do you mean by that?
Well, since we accepted something, did anybody on any of the teams on your side come up with what you think represents a better number, a more accurate number?
No,
Thank you.
no. So all the numbers are the same
Thank you.
as far as values. So that brings us into the pending log here, and this is the bulk of the work today. Oops.
We're gonna go through each one of these, right, Ian? Should we just start with
We
item
are.
number 3?
Yeah, let me get the Excel version up so that I can start noting what the decisions are. So. Number 3 is there were a few items that we noted last time that on 8/25, you guys created a bucket that said possibly accept. So there are 5 of those items. This is one of them that just needs a formal vote one way or another. So this is reducing the number of outdoor classrooms on the academic wing from 4 to 3.
Does anyone have any questions on this one? We've talked about this previously, right?
We have.
Yeah. Any questions? If no questions, any motions?
Can we just be, sorry, I'll put my hand up. Just a quick question. Can we
Sure.
just be reminded what Lori and Justin's take on this is?
Lori, I think, is Justin not here, Lori? Is it
Yeah,
just you?
Justin can't be on this.
Yeah,
one.
that's okay. Do you,
Yeah, I mean, we'd like it, but if you want, I'm not gonna fight for it. I've fought for other stuff. We've got 3 outdoor spaces in the amphitheater, so it's probably sufficient.
any other questions? If not, any motions?
Just a point of order. Do we need to vote on each specifically, or can we note them and then do? Well, oh, no, sorry. Yeah, no, that doesn't make sense. We need to vote on them individually.
We should vote on
We've
them.
done all. Sorry.
Move to reduce item number 3 from 4 to 3 as stated.
Oh, formally accept maybe, Court?
Yes, fine. Okay, thank
Awesome.
you. Move to
No,
formally
thank you.
accept the recommendation for item 3, a reduction of outdoor classrooms from 4 to 3.
Great. We have a motion. Any seconds?
Second.
Thank
Second.
you.
So I'd like to speak to it and note that.
I'm
really-
sorry. I'm sorry, guys. Hold on.
Wait, what?
This is the accepted. That's the accepted log. We're on the wrong page here. We already accepted that.
Yeah,
I was
that's,
wondering why it said 8-4.
I know,
and
that-
then
Yep.
I was like, maybe I missed something. All right.
So
All right.
I'll withdraw the motion. and
Thank you,
note that
Court.
note that we have many quote unquote found spaces in the natural environment that I'm sure teachers can use too, which is typical. We're referring to, if you will, constructed environments outdoors. So I think we've got capacity beyond what's built out that I think will satisfy the teachers quite nicely.
So the first item is 8, and also related to the outdoor classrooms. This is the bollard lighting.
Pat, can you mute?
Yeah, I
please?
tried.
Oh, thank you. Okay, so
Dawn, a question, I believe, for the superintendent of schools as to how often we might be conducting outdoor classroom activities after dark.
Probably occasional. I'm fine if you take it. I just want to be sure we've got an outlet out there if we've got to run our own lighting. If that makes sense.
Yeah, and that could be an outlet for daytime apparatus.
Sure. Yeah, of
too,
course.
I
Right.
imagine. Yeah.
Yep. So do we have outdoor electrical access at this point?
If I may, we discussed this internally yesterday, and we'll make sure. Right now, as you know, we were running electrical access from those bollards. We'll find a different way to create that access. If
Okay.
the bollards are taken out.
Great, Mike. So I'm fine if you take it, given that.
I move to accept item 8.
okay, we have a motion. Any seconds?
Second.
Thank you, Matt. Root, any discussion? Hearing none, let's take a vote. Alexa, how do you vote?
Sure.
Court,
Yes.
Heather,
Yes.
Frank,
Yes.
Peter Fashalis.
Yes.
Thank you. Dawn's a yes. Lori Hunter,
Yes.
Matt Johnson,
Aye.
Pat Nelson. Are you still here, Pat?
Yep. I am. Yes.
You're a yes. Thank you. Chris Popoff,
Yes.
Charlie Parker. Is Charlie here?
Yes.
Okay. Hey, Charlie. Thank you. Matt Root
Yes.
and Steve Stashewski.
No.
Okay. Thank you. All right. Next, 27, Ian.
That was accepted. 27 is reduce the entrance canopy by 15 linear feet in length. So just scaling back the size of the canopy in the front. This is the main entrance.
Any questions, comments? If folks want to, oh, I see hands. Steve.
Could we, what's the total length? I mean, the width is 16.5, but what's the total length that we would be cutting this down by 15 feet?
Matt or Jen, do you know how long it is currently?
Look to Jen.
Yeah,
You know.
if you give me a minute, but basically what it would be doing is cutting it back to the face of the building. So it wouldn't be projecting, and I don't know if you have a rendering.
Here's a graphic. Just ignore everything else on here, but it shows
Yep. So
It
you'd
was
be
that
cutting it back.
this
corner.
feature here that juts out.
Yep.
So it slices it back to close to the edge of the building, right?
That's correct.
Dawn, question?
Hold on. I see
Oh,
Alexa
I'm sorry.
and
Forgive
Peter
me.
and Lori. Court,
Sorry.
if you would put your virtual hand up, I
I
will
shall. Thank
absolutely
you.
get
Yep.
to you.
Thank you.
I actually have one quick question because it's not shown on here, Jen. Does that take you out to the edge of the drop area? Or is that an arbitrary and like somewhere in the front plaza?
It's probably not quite at the edge of the plaza.
Mhm.
And maybe, I don't know, Mike, if we've got a site plan showing that, but
Just approximately, just for everyone's reference, this comes up a lot. Jen, have you been in front of the FAS, the Facilities Assessment Subcommittee at the MSBA? This is something Terry Kwan, one of the subcommittee, and she's actually a board member on the MSBA, asks about because they are worried about weather protection, and particularly for students who need additional help, whether it's getting out of cars, buses, some of the special ed vehicles that drop students. She often wants to see front entries that provide quite a bit of protection for those who need a little bit of extra time and effort to get out of their vehicle or to navigate to the front door. I see that dash line there.
Yeah, I
Yep.
think it's this dash line here
Okay.
is what you're
All right.
looking down on. So this shows it in relation to the other features.
That's exactly what it is.
Yep.
That sort of dashed honeycomb grid to the right that runs east to west, that's the.
This here.
Yeah, that's the emergency vehicle access. So we wouldn't want it to go any, it ends about where it ends because we don't want it to go any further than that. And the canopy also covers the walkway right there. Yep. If you go right, Ian, if you go to the right, yeah, that's the walkway connection that starts leading down
Yeah,
to the
this
ramp
way.
and then to the lower area. So the canopy comes out enough to be able to cover that connection as well.
Great, thank you for that. Thank you for pulling that up. Alexa, I see your hand.
Yeah, I'm just also wondering, will it be more difficult for people approaching the building, like from the street to know where the entrance is without that, protrusion, I guess, from the building itself? Does that extra 15 feet serve as an announcement, if you will, that this is where we enter?
It would, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's a feature that helps guide people into the building because it's so prominent, right?
Yes, thank you.
For what it's worth, it reminds me of what SMMA did at Bancroft School in Andover. If anyone wants to Google that, I don't have it at the ready, but I happen to know that building and it reminds me of that. So it's kind of a beacon to show you where to enter the building. Peter Fishalis, I see your hand.
Yeah, I see Lori's hand up, so I'd like to hear from her first.
Oh, okay, Lori.
Thanks, Peter. My first thing is a question because I want to clarify number 77 on the list is to simplify the main entry canopy design by 50%. So I don't know if we should talk about both at the same time. I'm not clear on the distinguished differences, if SMMA could help with that.
Yep, good point. We should be talking about both at the same time.
Great. And then I guess my comment is to the wayfinding piece that Alexa just raised. We have significant issues with that at the high school, and I think it's really important that people know how to enter the building easily.
Thank you, Lori. Jen or Matt, can you guys speak to the two different items that are in front of us today?
Sure. So I think the one we just talked about is pretty self-explanatory. It's reducing it the 15 feet, the length of it, and then reducing or simplifying it. That's something that we would just have to look at. So if we ended up taking both, as you can see in the design, we've got some V-shaped structure that would be simplified. They'd probably just go to simple posts. Right now, we have some phenolic paneling underneath the canopy to give it some interest. That would have to be simplified. It would probably just go right to the DFIS, the EFIS underneath. So we would have to take a look at that, the design of it, and
so the 77 would propose material changes, right? Material and maybe shape sort of thing.
And the structure of
Yeah,
it.
this is Bill from Elon Cole. That was written to give the design team the flexibility to remove materials and simplify the design without taking away the wayfinding and the protection that the canopy gets you. So it would be exposed metal and painted with simplified materials.
Thank you for clarifying. Can we go back to see what the values are? Sorry, I lost track of the two different. One is shortening it by 15 feet. The other is a simplification.
So the first value is $45,000 to shorten it. The second value is $59,000 to simplify it by means of material changes. and structure changes.
So it's about a value of, say, 100,000 collectively, somewhere in there.
Yes.
Peter, you still have a question, I assume?
Well, just a comment. It seems to me that while this may not impact the educational program, this is the front of the building. This is the first thing people see. I do like the idea of having enough protection for people in bad weather, especially those who need extra help. And I think having it the current size makes sense. And just changing the material, there's been a lot of thoughtful process in this one. And I think it should stay for the money that we could save. That's it.
Thank you, Peter. Heather?
Thanks. I'll be quick because I agree. I think on the size, the wayfinding is imperative that we keep it. And on the materials, I know it's easy when you look at the two things together like this to say, okay, well, we want one's more important, so let's keep one and we'll give on the other. But to Peter's point about the front of the building, both the front and the look and feel, and the fact that we have talked from the beginning about wanting this to be a welcoming school and a welcoming place to be. I think this is where people are coming in. This is where they're coming in every day. This is a critical point to make it where it should feel welcoming, and where phenolic panels and the right materials and everything are really important to the feel of the school. So I would advocate that we keep both of them.
Thank you, Heather. Court?
Yeah, there appears to be a lot of support for this. Nonetheless, I want to be clear about one thing. Ian can help us perhaps. Is it correct that these two numbers are completely independent of each other, that were there action on one, it wouldn't impact the other? You following me?
You can accept or reject them independently of one another.
Thank you very much.
Okay, Heather, your hand's still up. Do you have another question? No? Doesn't look like it. Steve?
Sorry.
I just think it's really important that we all, remind ourselves that we are voting for what we will recommend to the town. And I think for 50 years on a building, $100,000 would be short-sighted to walk into the building every single time that we do and go, oh, I wish we didn't do that. I just, for both of these, I think we should just continue on with the original design.
Thank you, Steve. Chris Popoff.
Maybe I'm jumping ahead. I was wondering if we were ready for a motion.
We can be, sure. Do you have one ready?
Yeah, I move not to reduce the length of the canopy.
So that's item 27 only?
Yeah, let's do
Okay.
item 27 only.
Okay, so motion to accept 27, is that, did I hear you correctly?
No.
No,
Yeah, not, the idea
not
is
to accept, reject.
reject because we're leaving. the
We're leaving it in
design
the
as
design.
proposed.
Sorry, yes, I said it wrong. I heard you right, but said it wrong. So your motion is to reject 27.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Second that.
Yes, who seconded that?
Me, Alexa.
Alexa, hey, thank you, Alexa. Any further discussion?
Sorry, just a point of clarification. Is that just 27, or are we not doing both of them together since we're
I
talking
think
about
his motion was just 27. Am I wrong, Chris?
Yeah, I think it's clear to do just 27 because it sounds like on number 77, there's more flexibility and there's some aesthetic choices. And I think it's just cleaner because, as Ian pointed out, they're independent of each other cost-wise.
Perfect, thank you. So just 27, Heather. Thank you. Okay, any further discussion? If not, let's take a vote. Alexa?
Yes.
Thank you. Court Booth?
Yes.
Heather?
Yes.
Frank?
Yes.
Peter?
Aye.
I'm a yes. Lori?
Yes.
Matt Johnson?
Aye.
Pat Nelson?
Yes.
Chris Popoff?
Yes.
Charlie Parker?
Yes.
Matt Root?
Yes.
Steve Stashewski?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Good job, guys. Let's keep going. I don't know if we want to make a motion on, was it 70 something yet?
77. We should probably keep the momentum going.
Sure.
I'll make a motion to, oh, sorry, can I? You need a hand.
Sure.
And since you're asking for one, I'll make a motion to reject, which was the next one, 77.
Okay, we have a motion to reject item 77.
I will
Second,
second.
Okay, that was a toss up between Steve and Alexa. Thank you. Any discussion? Yes, Chris.
Yeah, just an aesthetic point. I'm not as big a fan of the V-shaped supports for the canopy as for vertical supports. But I defer to the design experts on that one.
Thank you, Chris. Court?
Do we see the renderings again very quickly? Is that possible?
Yeah.
While he's pulling that up, mind if I go to Matt?
Please.
Yeah, this is just one of those cases where I feel like maybe just some sensible economizing could help. But the context that I always have on these things is, while on the one hand, you might regret like, oh, it could have looked nicer. On the other hand, we have to get down to vote for this project. And, the risk is we make the number just a little too high and it doesn't pass the vote. So I just want to keeping that in mind as we keep looking at these things and going, gosh, it looks awfully nice. And wouldn't it be nicer to have this? And, we really are in a tough spot. And I just want to keep that in mind.
Thank you, Matt. And meanwhile, thank you, Ian, for pulling up the rendering.
Yep. Should we point out too here that anything that's accepted today is a permanent VM acceptance? This isn't going into a basket for consideration anymore. It
has to be.
This is going to be taken out of the design.
These are votes.
Yes.
So could you talk us through how this would look different were we to take $59,000 savings and keep the length, but change some aspects of appearance?
I need the help of the design team on that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, so those,
yeah.
oh, go ahead, Matt.
I was just going to say, oh, sorry, which Matt? We have too many Matts. I think as Jen described earlier, Court, the V-shape or W-shape structure, vertical structure that's there on the left-hand side, that would most likely get changed to vertical columns, posts to support the canopy. And then when you look around at the underside of the canopy, I believe is envisioned to have a wood look phenolic panel that's like right off to the right-hand side, that material that you see the samples of. That would get changed to either maybe what we call a defis, which is sort of a plaster type finish, something very simple on the underside, or potentially even, as Bill was explaining, an exposed structure on the underside of the canopy. So I think there's still some design work, obviously, that we would need to do, but the general gist of it would be that we were finding ways to simplify the canopy structure and design.
Matt, or someone on the design team, can you speak to the life of the materials, a phenolic versus a EFIS?
Yeah, so I think the phenolic is certainly a more durable material. It will maintain sort of the quality, the caliber of finish for a longer time, especially in sort of the protected location, which is the underside of that canopy. The defis will start to, usually it's a lighter color at the underside of the canopy, it'll start to just sort of show its age a little bit. It tends to collect dirt and dust a little bit more, even at the underside of things. So it can look dated, say in 5-10 years, that type of thing. And then if it's exposed metal, we do have to go to fairly considerable lengths to make sure that that metal does not begin to rust. Right, so there's types of protection that we put on the steel that would be exposed both on the beams and the columns, but also the underside of the metal deck, if that's something that we want to be looking at.
Perfect, thanks, Matt. Chris Popoff.
Are those the only two choices for covering the underside?
I would say, Chris, that they're probably the two most cost-effective options. So either not putting an additional finish material, and so there's certainly savings there, But then we have to offset that with the protection that we have to end up putting on the steel. But then the DFIS, I would say, is sort of the baseline material that you probably see on a lot of undersides of canopies around in the area, just because it is fairly utilitarian. It is very cost effective in terms of how it goes on. So.
Don, I can't raise my hand
Okay,
and drive.
Pat, I'll acknowledge you though.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
You know, I was persuaded to accept this as some way to make a dent in the budget, but I spent a lot of time walking around Ripley, spent a lot of time in the old schools, and when I think about this building, and I think about that wood look as a welcoming way to get in, that inspires me. But what also inspires me is how god awful the canopies look in all of our older buildings over time. So I just wanted to give that perspective for someone who's looked at those canopies a lot. Thank you.
Thank you, Pat. Yeah, that's it. That's part of the reason I asked the question I did, as far as the durability and long-term look and feel of the different materials, because I have similar concerns. Steve.
Yes, thank you. So would there be electrical, lighting, or fire protection systems that would be either hidden by the DFIS or phenolic, or exposed and would need to be painted and somehow covered up?
Yeah, I think to answer your question, Steve, so there would be lighting at the underside. So there would be electrical conduits feeding that lighting that we would have to paint if it was exposed, but either the DFIS or the phenolic, the finished ceiling would conceal that. We don't typically need to put fire protection under main entrance canopies. The fire code usually restricts that to areas that can be used as storage. So a main entrance canopy, because there's circulation moving through it, fire departments are usually not requiring fire protection coverage out there. But certainly the electrical components would need some treatment. Either we're sort of tucking them into corners and painting them, or I think preferably they would be concealed above a finished surface.
Speakers, maybe? Would there be speakers for the announcement?
Yeah, so I think typically outside the building, there would be a speaker or two, just to make sure that announcements from the interior are audible to the exterior, both up here at the main entrance and certainly around at the outdoor classrooms underneath the bridge spaces that will be used by students.
Thank you.
Thank you both. Court?
Yeah, I wonder if we could get at least a back of the envelope estimate on what it might save us to put in vertical columns. I think that the wow factor of the angled columns might be lost on us after our first visit. And I'm hearing Mr. Johnson's statement that we have to show all constituents in the town as much good faith effort as we can, but still preserve the essential qualities of this school. I wonder if that might be a compromise for us, keep the phenolic and move to vertical if there would be any kind of savings at all.
Thank you, Court. I don't know if that is possible to get in the moment. Correct me if I'm wrong, professionals. I think that is just an assumption that's embedded in the amount, but I could be wrong.
That would be challenging just to come up with a number.
But it represents some part of that 60,000, correct? So it went into that calculation.
It's a part of it, yes.
So it could come out of that calculation such that we could see it at some point.
We'd have to go back to the estimators and talk to them more about how to parse that out, if that is the desire.
I just share with you through the chair, I'd be happier with keeping phenolic if we made some adjustment to this by way of cost saving that didn't harm all the benefits of the phenolic wood.
Okay. Heather?
I'll just comment on that in particular, really, obviously, since I moved this, I'm in favor of rejecting the whole thing. I actually think even the vertical columns come back to the feel here of the welcoming look. If you look at this building, it is almost all vertical and horizontal, as buildings are. That's not a criticism. It's what buildings are. And by adding a little bit of diagonal lines, you break that up and you make it less institutional. If you just look at the V's and the diagonal lines by themselves, are they valuable in and of themselves? I don't know. But if you look at the big picture of this school, it breaks it up a little bit. It makes it look less institutional and more welcoming overall. So to me, even those diagonal supports are part of the feel that we're trying to create on the outside. And when you start to break apart this 60 to something smaller like that, if we're talking $10,000 or $20,000, I agree with Matt Johnson that we have to find the right balance, but I do not think this is the way to do it. I think if we start taking away from the feel, as Pat says, of the entryway, then and only giving that option to the town, then we would be doing a disservice to the town.
Thank you, Heather. I do have, I'm gonna take a moment. I see a couple of hands, but Matt and Bill and others, Jen on the design team, I have a product that's a wood look that's pretty much maintenance free that I use a lot on the underside of my canopies. For what it's worth, I think it's a better, more cost effective than the, it gives a similar wood look feel. It looks like a tongue and groove, but it's a polymer that has a wood look to it that I'm happy to share that product information with you guys if that's of interest here to kind of balance. I know phenolic can be fairly expensive. This product is more like a ceiling product. It's a Rulon Endure, if anyone wants to look it up. But anyway, it's like you could just wash it down, like it's maintenance free. So we use it all the time. We often take it into the building to give a similar look as you go from a canopy to a vestibule or something inside. So anyway, feel free to check that out. That's something, and I can't say what the differential would be. I'm just offering a suggestion that I use on a product often to get this similar wood feel without the cost of real wood or the maintenance. So Alexa.
Is it time for maybe a motion on this?
Hold on one second. I'd like to
We have
acknowledge
a
Chris, and then
motion.
I'm happy to hear your motion.
Sure.
Yeah, just real quick, it's just aesthetic choices. I think the V shape is actually, it is incongruous. It does break up the vertical lines, but I find that the vertical columns is more welcoming. Architecture in Concord, but again, it's an aesthetic choice.
Thank you, Chris. If there are no more questions, Alexa, if you have a motion prepared, I'm all ears.
John, we already have a motion on the table.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Oh,
Sorry.
we're in discussion?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I'll
Thank
second
you
the
for,
motion.
I need all the help I can get today. Thank you.
I know the feeling. It's tough. The motion was to reject the item.
Reject. Okay, so with that, someone wanna, Alexa, you wanna call the, call the motion?
Sure, I
Then
think-
I will.
Call the motion.
All right, perfect. How do you vote, Alexa?
The motion is to reject.
Correct.
I vote yes.
Okay, Court,
No.
Heather,
Yes.
Frank.
Hold on, want me to watch for him? Frank,
Yeah,
can you give us a
please.
thumbs up or thumbs down?
Thumbs up rejects it, keeps it in the project. Thumbs down
Down. Is
accepts
that
it.
down? You need to move your hand back a little. Looks like thumbs down, but it's hard to see. Thumbs down.
Okay,
Yeah,
take it out of the
down.
project. Is that correct?
So it's a no vote.
It's a no.
No
Okay.
vote. Great.
All right, Peter?
Yes.
I am torn on this one. I'm gonna go yes. Lori,
Yes.
Matt Johnson.
Nay.
What was it, Matt? I'm sorry.
A nay.
Nay.
No.
Okay, Pat,
No.
okay, Chris,
No,
Charlie,
No.
Matt, Root,
Yeah, I'm torn as well. I'm gonna go yes.
okay, and Steve.
Yes.
Okay, can someone tally that while I shut my husband's bus alarm off?
think it was 6 to 6. Is that possible?
There's 13 of us if we're all here.
Yeah, I think I had 6 no's, but can someone double check my math?
I counted 6 as well.
Okay, so 7 to 6, it stays in. Do I have that right? Was anyone else counting?
Alexa agrees with you.
Okay. All right. Looks like that one by the skin of its teeth stays in. It's a tough one. It is. If there's any way for our designers to, you know, dig a little deeper for some savings as they move into detailing it, obviously we're open to keeping the aesthetic, but, you know, maybe considering some materials that do similar things or finding some savings in there. Okay, what's next?
28 is replacing curtain wall on the north wall of the art rooms with punched windows. So instead of a curtain wall system, you're getting punched windows with cladding.
Okay, so in between it'd be phenolic. Is there a visual? Oh, it's 37974. For clarity, it'll still be triple glazed. It just is a punched opening versus like a large span of curtain wall.
If you go to page 19 of last week's packet, that's a pretty good view.
Okay. Ian, do you have that available?
Got it.
Perfect. We're talking about.
We're talking here,
out
right?
there. Yep. So those would, instead of being the big swath, they would be more like, see the far right view, how that's like a punch with material in between, a punch with material in between.
So more of this look.
Yes,
here,
rather
instead of a continuous curtain wall system here.
Okay. Questions? I asked if it was still triple glazed. I think I know the answer, but just for clarity.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Heather.
A question. So when we say it becomes punched, I'm trying to figure out, does it look, you said it looks a little more like the right section. Is it still mostly window with thin bits of wall in between, or does it become more like over on the left where it looks like mostly wall with little windows? I'm just trying to understand what it would look like.
I think it was accurately described, Heather, that it would look more like what you see on the right-hand side of the image. This is where Ian's cursor is right now. I think the overall intent is to try and preserve sort of the bridging sort of look and feel of that element as it sort of crosses from the gymnasium auditorium wing over to the classroom wing. So I don't think we would go too far towards what's shown on the classroom wing in terms of the punch window. It's really trying to get savings by changing the fenestration system from that curtain wall system, which is a more expensive glazing approach, to a punched window. The punch window just has smaller allowable areas of glass that we can put into it, which is why the curtain wall was there previously to sort of maintain, extend out the notion of the sort of bridging as it runs along even through the art rooms. It also would increase the amount of daylight that gets into the art rooms, but I do think that there would still be sufficient daylight getting into the art room if we went with the punch windows, because the one all the way to the right is also an art room, and so it already sort of has that treatment. So it'd be sort of bringing a commonality potentially to the art rooms.
Okay, and sorry, just a follow up to that. So, and that makes sense to me for the art rooms. For the bridge part of it, I know that one thing that was brought up early on was that one of the really neat things about this design was that even from the front, you can kind of see through to the trees and the nature all behind. In the bridge part of that, would you still have that effect of seeing through to the trees on the other side?
I believe so, and I'll ask Jen and maybe Bill to confirm this, but I think this VE item was not, or VM item was not touching the curtain wall that was at the bridge sections at the hallway and sort of the entrance portion. This is really just that second floor art room area that is under consideration.
Yeah,
Okay,
it's
great.
it's only 900 square feet of curtain wall system that we're talking about here. So
Not the whole thing.
I-
Okay.
I can't imagine that you're going too far down on this wall system.
Okay,
So
got it. That's
I
helpful.
imagine that this
Just
would
the
be
art room.
untouched.
Okay.
It's just the art rooms and it does reduce the amount of glass overall.
Yeah.
Okay. That's
So
really
it's
helpful.
this-
Thank
This
you.
area here.
Got it.
Thank you. Steve?
Yeah, I was having a hard time visualizing how much this is. So if the curtain wall is 9 or 8 feet tall, it's 100 linear feet. So how far across? Do we draw a line? I mean, is it the whole third floor?
I don't know how to scale this.
You know,
Yeah.
I was going to make a motion if it was only the right-hand side of that long swath of glass, then I would make a motion to take it out. But if it's hard to say, there's so specific 898
That's true.
square feet. Could one of the architects help us find the line? Where
Move to accept item 28 up to the canopy. Up to
Perfect.
and including the canopy area, not including the bridge area.
I'll second that. Thank you.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Yeah, just that we do need to accelerate. We're on track for about a 5-hour meeting.
All right, we'll keep going. Thank you for moving that. Any further discussion? Okay, roll call vote. Alexa?
Okay, yes.
Court,
Yes.
Heather?
Yes.
Frank?
Let me find him. Hold on. I can't see him. Where is he? Frank, thumbs up. Yes.
Okay, Peter?
Yes.
Dawn's a yes. Lori?
Yes.
Thank you. Matt Johnson?
Aye.
Pat? She might
Yes.
have- Oh, you're still here. I thought you might have left us. Thank you. Chris Popoff?
I did.
Yes.
Charlie?
Yes.
Matt? Root?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes. Great. What's next?
This is the stretch of connection between the dining commons area and the area underneath the bridge. That connector pathway, as well as some modifications to the dining commons area. So
Okay, we spoke about this last time, but I don't think any motions were made. I did receive a question from Court via email that I forwarded to the professionals regarding the previous rendering that was shown. And I don't know if Mike is prepared to speak to the differential between that and what we're currently looking at.
Yeah, sure, I'd be happy to. So I saw Court's, of course, I saw Court's.
One second, Mike, before you go. Ian, were you on that email string? I was just wondering if we could get the visual up on that.
I'm sorry, what are we talking about here?
Hold on, I'm going to email it to you. Check your email. In the meantime, if Mike wants to speak.
Yeah, sure. So what I was going to say is that that image that Court pulled up, that is, that was sort of a snapshot in time when it was part of the development of the design. We hadn't completely fleshed everything out yet. We knew that we were going to have some sort of outdoor space there. We thought that we would like to have some sort of upper and lower elevation connection. We had not yet begun the process to sort of figure out how to make that connection. So it was something that we wanted to do, but we had not identified a path to the solution yet when that image was created. There you go.
Thank you, Ian. So as you can see, and Mike mentioned, it was that square of, looks like maybe concrete or a hard surface and with a staircase, if I'm looking at it correctly.
Stare down.
Yeah, and a railing. And then I don't know if you have the view of what is currently. I assume this is a natural evolution from an SD budget hold to a DD you know, and beyond kind of actual design.
That's correct.
Okay, that would essentially take something out of the contingency and put it into the design for those that understand how design works. At SD, it's a budget hold. Typically, you hold budgets and then the design begins to evolve. And, I don't know if you've got where we are, Ian. We spoke about it at
Yeah,
length
trying to get there.
last time.
Here we go.
Yeah, we're asking a lot of you today, Ian, with visuals, so thank you. You can see that it looks like the hardscape, if you want to call it that, up closer to the building, Ian, where the tables are shown off the dining, and then that's the media center.
Yeah.
And then that seems to have been reduced with more green, and then it went from a staircase to sort of I think it's a walkway, which we spoke about. And I know we spoke about it not being accessible, and I had followed up with Mike saying it needs to be. So I think Mike had looked at it since our last meeting and has a way without adding any additional wall or cost to make it accessible. So that's the only way I would be in support of it, is if it is accessible. So it sounds like that's possible without any added costs. So
Okay.
for what it's worth.
So essentially we would be changing from this design here that's on the screen back to this. Something like this. Is this what we're proposing here?
No, I don't know that that's what's being proposed. I think that was Court saying the differential and
Okay.
how does it change? I would argue that that is not accessible. There's only a staircase there to get one from that high ground to low ground. And
Yeah,
then
I mean,
there's no walkways or anything shown from connectivity wise from that area. And I don't even see the outdoor classrooms in this visual. So I don't even know exactly when this was.
Yeah, I mean, this would have some cost implications to it with all the hardscapes and the retaining walls and the stairs and everything as well. So that is not what was estimated for this VM.
But it was the one that went to town meeting.
Yeah, and that's a schematic design, which is typically a placeholder. Like you can see here that more than just that area evolved. We've got the walkways out of the building out to the outdoor classrooms that are on the south side there. So between SD and DD, quite a bit of work and evolution occurred, which is normal in the process for what it's worth.
I'll just say that what Dawn just mentioned is accurate. We have identified a solution to create an accessible route from the lower, elevation 183 level to the upper, elevation 197 level. We found a way to create an accessible route without adding any additional linear footage of walls or adding any additional height to the walls.
Mike, I'm having a real hard time hearing you when you speak. Your mic is really quiet.
Yeah, I missed much of that.
Yeah, I am too, Mike. Would you?
I'm not sure why. I apologize.
That's better, I think.
Is that better?
A little bit, yeah. Could you say it again, just so everyone's?
Sure. Yeah, I wanted to reiterate what Dawn said, that we have identified a means to create an accessible route from the sort of lower 183 level elevation to the upper 197 elevation, creating a fully accessible route from bottom to top. It does not add any additional linear footage of wall, and it doesn't create any additional height on any of the pinch points, like that southeast corner of the wall. We found a way to keep that wall height about the same as what it is in the current drawings, what you see here.
Thank you, Mike. Do you still have a question, Matt?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, with that revised design, is the cost still the same? And then secondly, if you look at this picture, what would taking the VE look like? Basically, would it extend the current dining area, but only at that depth across and then eliminate the walkway? What would it do? What would taking this VE do?
Well, I think the way it's worded, Matt, if I may, I think the way it looks like to me, the way it's worded is that it would eliminate the connection of that upper terrace, the dining terrace, we'll call it, to the lower outdoor classrooms. That's the way I've read it. If someone else reads it differently, that's the way I had always anticipated this.
Well, I'm a little concerned. I mean, if we're saying that this is going to eliminate 350,000 from the budget and you're not clear on what it is, I just don't know how confident we can be that we will get this VE. I guess I just need to know what is the proposal and why is it save so much? I mean, it's a huge amount of money.
Yeah, let's look at the language here. It's removing the retaining wall and guardrail, which are these features here, and eliminating remove lawn terraces. So this is a terraced lawn here, so it's just going to be a continuous slope down. Is that what we're talking about?
I think that they already eliminated the terraced feature to make it accessible, right?
Remove cast in place stairs and concrete walkway. So you're removing these cast in place stairs here and this concrete walkway here. Add 800 square foot of concrete pavement to patio and regrade. So you're adding to this patio up here somewhere, 800 square feet, and you're regrading this area.
So it's not dissimilar from what Court emailed. I would just argue if you're going to put a staircase in that you have to have a ramp.
I think this
eliminate
would
the
not have a staircase.
I'm sorry?
I don't think this would have a staircase.
I agree.
And I think
That's
that
correct.
the dining patio would be smaller than what was proposed in that schematic design.
Yeah, it's hard to get a sense of scale, but 800
But
square. feet.
I'm a little frustrated that we don't have clarity on even what's being proposed.
I'm going to jump in only because I think in the past in one meeting, somebody kind of mocked this up a little to show that square terraced area would just be flat grass. And then where the ramp is, it was just a flat wall. It was just a retaining wall. So it's basically, it looked like just kind of a flat level up here and then a wall on the side and then the lower level with no connection between the two. And the whole part of the point of our discussion was, or part of what we were debating before, was that there's no way to connect outside from the upper level to the bottom. It's just a big tall wall. So sorry to jump in. I just want to clarify, we have looked at that before.
That's correct. And we did talk about it. So it would basically be a hard plaza, some grass that is lower, and then a retaining wall and no connectivity. You'd have to go back in the building, go down the corridor and come out to get to those outdoor classroom areas or the that lower grade.
Yeah. So you'd have an upper level and a lower level.
Correct, with no connectivity. Okay, Charlie. Thank you, Heather. Charlie.
Well, I just wonder what Mike is really proposing here. I'd like to know how the mystery is solved to provide ADA access on a slope that's 10 feet. The slope from that walk in front of the media center is 10 feet down to that retaining wall. So you got to get across 10 feet of slope somehow. And if you look at the labyrinth in front of the building for ADA access, you got 160 feet to go 10 feet, 160 feet of ramp. So how do you do it, Mike?
Well, if there's a way for me to share my screen, I can share that. I can share the magic with you, Charlie. I just don't know if am I able to.
There you go. You
Yeah,
should be able to share now.
I think Ian allowed it.
Yeah, I see it. I hope this works. Hold on. Share.
We can see it, Mike. It's a CAD drawing. or a PDF.
That's correct.
CAD?
Yeah, that's correct. Okay. So, so we did a little horse trading with the walls. Can you see my cursor on the screen?
Yes.
Okay. So originally the walkway originally started right about here where you see this 185.5 spot grade. What we did was we extended the ramp back all the way back to the lower sort of plaza area beneath the bridge. We started there at elevation 183, and we created a 1 in 12 ramp with 30-foot lengths and 5-foot level landing areas that brought us all the way to the elevation of 192 to here. We turn around, we bring it up another 30 feet, level landing area, another 20-ish feet, and it gets us up to 196.5. We pulled this in a little bit, but now by creating this as a ramp area instead of a stepped and terraced area, it allows us to change this from a terraced lawn area to a continuous slope lawn pit. What that allowed us to do was eliminate the wall that sits in here and allows us to just kind of create these grades that kind of connect through. And then we can take some of the planting that, or for instance, if we wanted to close this area off, we can edge this condition with plant material through here. So the loss of wall here was mitigated. We mitigated the addition of the wall here with the loss of this wall over here. The wall height was mitigated. We couldn't bring the top of the wall down. So what we did was we brought the bottom of the wall up. So we just manipulated the grading along the base of the wall over here to raise the grades up a little bit to create a situation where the wall is still, the top of wall and bottom of wall height is still the same as it was in the original drawings. So that's essentially how and obviously you can see the shape of the dining plaza changes a little bit, but the feel of this area stays predominantly the same. It's just, lines at different angles now, but that creates that fully accessible route from upper to lower.
Thank you, Mike. Does that answer your question, Charlie?
Well, what happens to the retaining wall on the south side in the corner? Is that higher?
Right here, Charlie?
Yeah.
No, it's so in the existing proposal, it's 15.5 feet tall, and here it's now 15 feet tall. So it's negligible, right? It's a half a foot, so it's essentially the same. It's a half a foot shorter, but for all intents and purposes, it's the same size.
Thank you, Mike. Alexa?
Hey guys, so I just wanted to chime in. In my capacity as a school committee member, I've had the opportunity to be the liaison to the Special Education Parent Advisory Council. I know that you all know that they actually felt so strongly about inclusive design that they had hoped for a seat on our very committee. So, and we're obviously a monstrous committee. So I do feel compelled to, sort of represent their interests here, because having access for kids to the outdoor classrooms, to the lawn panel, to the lawn underneath, that is seamless and as everyone else will be able to access, I just think is so important. And I can't stress enough. First of all, I'm thrilled that you guys were able to solve the problem of accessibility. So I feel really strongly that this needs to be retained in the design. I think it's a big, an important feature that can make a difference to a lot of kids. Thanks.
Thanks, Alexa. Matt Johnson.
I thought we heard last time that ramps were a lot more expensive than walkways. So now this is a ramp, it looks like, and it's the entire length is a ramp. How is it not a more expensive design than before if it's now a ramp?
Sure. So the difference is on a ramp as opposed to a walkway, we need a guardrail instead of a handrail. So that's where the big change comes. The way we were able to mitigate that cost was by eliminating the stairs and just simply putting the concrete for the ramp is a lot less expensive than the pouring in the concrete for the stairs. So I feel like we mitigated that cost by eliminating those 3 sets of stairs.
And so now this whole thing is exactly the same cost as before?
I couldn't tell you that, Matt.
Until it's estimated, I think
couldn't tell you
Mike's
that.
making, and I mean, I'll speak for you, Mike. I'm guessing. Until it's actually estimated, I think Mike's assuming that some of the trade-offs will be a wash.
Yeah, so this is a new proposal. This is something that is trying to simplify the design with cost in mind, but we would have to put a value to it because this is not $350,000 worth of savings.
Charlie, your hand is still up. I'd like to.
Yeah, I have
Hold on one second. Because you already had a chance, Heather, you only clarified what we talked about previously. Did you have a comment on this, Heather? And then I'll come back to you, Charlie.
I had a comment. I'm fine either way. I can wait for Charlie.
Okay, Charlie.
Well, I could also have this comment under discussion time, but I guess I think this is a very strained attribute of the design. I don't, quite frankly, see the use cases for going from the cafeteria to the outdoor classrooms and back. I don't see that as being a need that calls out the expense of $350,000 or $360,000. I like the previous design that Court put up there. I thought that was a common sense approach. I thought it was attractive, and I find this to be, excessive for a very limited, what I would consider to be a fairly limited purpose. I know that this continuous access thing is being talked about, but think about the issue or the requirement to go from the cafeteria where you are having lunch, after you have lunch, to go, or before you have lunch, to go back and forth to the outdoor classrooms. I just don't see the volume or the frequency or the need. I just don't see that it sustains this kind of investment. I think it's a bad use of money. So and not a valuable feature. So that's all I have to say about that. I'm not going to support this this design or this feature.
Thank you, Charlie. Heather.
So I'll disagree with that. I would say that we have heard, first of all, we've heard from our superintendent in the past that connectivity and the outside is very important to the educational experience. I would also say we've all talked about, to say connection to nature with would look is one thing, but access to nature is critical in this building, and access to the outside is critical. If we don't have that connectivity, kids are forced to go back inside as opposed to using the outdoors to connect from one class to the next, staying there. I would also say, and I think it's been pointed out that this was an issue at the high school, if it's just a wall with no access, having lived with and spent lots of time with middle school boys in the past few years, they will find a way to connect that will not be a safe one. You're gonna have rock climbing going on that wall, and you're gonna have kids jumping off, and you're gonna have situations that you don't want. I think creating access is really important. And I will come back to what Alexa said about accessibility. I applaud Mike here for redesigning this. I think the redesign is amazing, and I think we should be cheering that he's found a way to make this actually accessible, because I do think that's critical. So I think from a standpoint of the education, the access to nature, the accessibility, all of these things make this an important part of this building. And once again, I don't think we should be letting down the town. And like Alexa said, groups that really care about accessibility for everyone and universal design by cutting something like this out. I don't think it's smart.
Thank you, Heather. Pat, can you please mute? It sounds like you're walking and breathing and we're getting all the feedback. Sorry. Thank you, Heather. Lori.
Yeah, I'll just reiterate very quickly what Alexa and Heather just said, because they said it well and said what I said last week. The vision of having kids outside and being able to transition easily And all kids being able to transition easily, I can't say enough, is incredibly important. Maybe it's not going to be used by 500 kids a day, but it matters to the few that would use it, especially if they're disabled and this is how they're going to get to where the rest of their peers are going. Heather's point, they're going to make their own ways. We've had to backfill at the high school and put stairs in across a number of the sloped areas because the erosion of those spaces where people were cutting through was causing harm to the campus. So I'm not convinced we're going to save enough money here to make this worth eliminating. The alternate plan's going to have a cost, and the ongoing work we're going to have to do to retro, and the deficit it leaves for kids seems not worth what we would gain.
Appreciate that insight, Lori, as superintendent. Alexa?
I don't want to belabor this, but as someone who has a middle school age child, when these kids are outside at lunch, which they have been quite a bit in the past 2 years, they also have their lunchtime to like literally play. It's the only time they do that. And I think the idea of like preserving their ability to have unstructured social time and the ability to disperse into the rest of the campus is actually really important. And I think Justin in particular should be applauded for his, I don't know, he's sort of reshaped that time into a time where kids do in fact play rather than kind of loiter. And if you trap them up there and with nowhere else to go back into the building, I see that being, you know, a little bit of, you know, clawing back the accomplishments he's made to create that kind of culture. Anyway, sorry for being long.
That's okay, Alexa, appreciate it. I'm just looking outside saying no one's eating out lunch outside today. It's crazy right now. Pat, I see your hand. You got it to raise. Good for you.
Yeah, well, I'm in a building for a moment, but can I make a motion?
You certainly can.
I would like to move that we reject this item.
Okay, we have a motion to reject.
Second.
I'll second that.
Okay, I think Steve beat you to it, Heather.
You beat me to it. It's okay.
Okay, we have a motion to reject. Alexa?
Yes.
Court?
No.
Heather?
Yes.
Frank?
Sorry, where is he? He keeps disappearing from my screen. Frank, thumbs down. No.
So he's a no to wait, hold on. We voted to reject, so he's a no. Okay, he won. Okay. Peter?
Yes.
I'm a yes, because I wear the Massachusetts Architectural Access Board chair hat, and I'm all about connectivity and inclusiveness. Sorry, I know this is a huge ticket item, but I feel strongly alongside CPAC, who Alexa spoke about needing to be inclusive here. Lori?
Yes.
Matt Johnson?
No.
Pat Nelson?
Yes.
Chris Popoff?
No.
Charlie Parker?
No.
Matt Root?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
I have 5 no's. Is that correct?
I agree with that, Pat.
Okay. Thank
I
you.
got 5 to 8.
5 to 8. That's what I had too. Thank you for thank you for checking my math.
Okay.
All right, that motion
you.
passes. Let's keep going here. Thank you for.
Number 31A is changing the finish on some of the foundation walls here from.
Would you share the chart again while you're talking us through it? I'm sorry, Ian. There's been a lot of moving.
I forgot that I was not sharing my.
No,
screen.
it's fine.
Yes.
It's just helpful to see the values as you're describing.
You
So
see-
which one are we talking about here?
Number 31A
31.
is the finish. And we talked about this before. This is one that was put in the potentially accept bucket on 825. So there was quite a bit of discussion surrounding just the difference in finish here. The architect's recommending a plywood finish in lieu of the base finish.
I think it's a plot. Do I understand
Right.
that? It's not a plywood finish. It's a plywood pour stop? Do I understand that
It's-
right? It's like so it's the tech, in the end, it would be the texture of that versus a smooth finish?
Still a concrete surface,
Concrete. Okay, just want to be clear. We're not putting plywood on the face of this. It's, okay.
just to finish.
Do folks remember talking about this? Does anyone have, Pat, your hand's still up. Do you have a question on this, or was that your previous question?
No
Anyone have-
question.
Anyone
I
have?
don't have a question, no.
No. Okay, if no questions or comments, any motions?
Move to accept the recommendation.
Thank you.
Seconded.
And who, I don't know who seconded that, but.
Matt Root.
Oh, thanks, Matt. You didn't pop up for me. Awesome. So we have a motion to accept and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, let's take a vote. Alexa?
I don't fully understand this, so I'm just gonna vote no, because I don't fully get it.
Okay, it has to do with essentially the
Yeah.
texture of the
I get
concrete.
it. I mean, I get it, but I don't get it, so I'm just gonna be cautious and vote no.
Okay, thank you. Court?
Yes.
Heather?
Sorry, I should have asked a question in advance. This is just, it's basically the texture of the wall.
Yes.
And we talked
I
about it
understand.
before. Okay, I'm remembering it. I'm voting no, I think. It's 40,000, no.
Okay. Frank? Anyone see Frank?
Yes.
He's
He's
yes.
a yes?
Yes.
Okay, Peter?
Yes.
Dawn's a yes. Lori?
Yes.
Matt Johnson?
Aye.
Pat?
Yes.
Chris Popoff?
Yes.
Thank you. Charlie?
Yes.
Matt Root?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Okay. That motion passes. We'll accept that one. What's next?
35, we need to clarify here because there was another item that was already accepted and we've come to the realization that I don't think you can do both. So Jen, do you mind speaking to this one? I know you were researching it.
Yeah, we had previously, if you recall, accepted an item, I believe it was at the fourth meeting, to replace, we had originally proposed in the classroom academic wing, the corridors were exposed to structure and we had some spray sound absorptive treatment on that. And we had previously taken a VE item to replace that with acoustic ceiling tiles, 2x2 acoustic ceiling tiles.
It's
So
the
this,
54 here, right?
that's correct.
Okay.
That's correct. So this item here had actually, I think it was in SD might have been on the list at SD as a VE item, this item number 35. And that actually was an add. So it's not correctly shown there as a deduct of $6,000. It's actually, or 69,000. That actually would have been an add if we had replaced that spray insulation treatment with some Tectum panels. So regardless, because we had already previously accepted the other VE item, this one is sort of outdated at this point, and I think it's an easy reject. In my opinion.
Do we actually need to reject it? I don't know. How does that work?
I don't think so.
If there's no motion, it defaults.
Yeah, okay. Thank you for explaining, Jen.
Okay, so
All right,
we're going to remove it from the list and abandon any further conversation.
perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. 63 is the gym height. So bringing the ceiling down 5 feet.
Is it ceiling or structure?
Just the structure.
I would assume
Structure.
structure. So the
Yes.
overall height of the gym building, the actual structure of it comes down. Design team, is it up for volleyball heights? I know that volleyball tends to be the determining factor for inside clear heights of gymnasiums. I guess I don't know how you arrived at the current height versus this says MIA basketball. So I would assume that that's a lower height than volleyball.
Yeah, so the current elevation of the roof was actually designed to create some simplicity in terms of the overall sort of gym and auditorium wing. So right now, the roof of the auditorium times out with the roof of the gym, right? So it's one continuous surface that goes all the way across. This reduces a little bit of exterior wall envelope, a roof ladder that we might have to have, or a stair to sort of maintain access between those two different roof surfaces. So we're trying to do it in terms of simplifying things, in all honesty.
I see, that makes sense. So you don't have two different roof heights with some sort of roof ladder, as you suggest, yeah. Because the
Correct.
auditorium needs to be what it is in order to have proper performances and acoustics in there.
Right, and I think there's also an aesthetic benefit as you're approaching the building as well, to not sort of have a jumble of massing of different heights. There's already some of that going on down in front with the music rooms that have a little bit of a higher roof to them. And I think that in the foreground, that can create sort of a nice level of interest, but to have it happening in the background as well with those larger volumes seem to be a bit much. So in addition to the sort of the efficiency and maintenance access, there was an aesthetic benefit as well to sort of keeping that line consistent across. But we could lower it down while still maintaining clearance. I think that the way that MIA actually reads is that volleyball has a required clear height of 25 feet within. Basketball, strangely enough, doesn't, is not outlined in MIA in terms of, so that the 25 feet we generally adhere to as being good for it. There's different manufacturers out there that state 23 feet or 25 feet for basketball clearance, but we should be good lowering it down for all MIA sports.
Perfect. Thanks, Matt. Any questions? I don't see any hands. Oh, there's Heather.
Thanks. A question. So it seems like this is actually less relevant to the gym space and more relevant to, in a way, maintenance. It's the roof and the update of things on the roof and maintenance, as well as the look and aesthetics from the outside. So I don't know, is Russ on today? Could we, Lori, is Russ here? Could we hear from him or someone on
I don't know if he is. These weekly meetings are stretching us really thin, so
I
I'm not
know.
sure that he is. I'm sorry.
Okay, so no, that's okay. So just what we know then is basically in terms of maintenance, it means that instead of having straight, so to speak, flat access to the whole roof, there would be a ladder to that end of it. And it doesn't look like there's anything major on the roof, but is there anything on that roof or specific that would need regular access?
It's mainly drains. I mean, drains do need to be cleaned and cleared intermittently.
And there'll be, sorry to interrupt, Matt. I thought you were done. There will be photovoltaic panels that folks will need to have access to, right?
That's the majority of the roof surface. No, you're right, Todd.
And so does, in terms of accessing them, you know, I guess if you're going to clear a drain, a ladder's probably fine. Are there times when we would need equipment in that area where the ladder would make that inconvenient or inaccessible or anything?
I think for the maintenance of the solar panels, you may have some tools with you, but it's not going to be like carrying a filter up to a unit per se. The units that are serving the auditorium and the gym are just back beyond, down below. They're just not visible in this particular rendering because they're on the low roof back behind, above the kitchen area primarily.
So sorry, can I ask, how do you get up to the upper roof here? It's a ladder access. Is that what it is? And on the backside back here?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yep.
And so just for clarity, where does the stair that pops up is the one kind of in the center of the screen?
So this
one
is,
would, yep,
this is
one
the
would
stair
walk
up.
over. If this were accepted, one would walk across that, climb the ladder to the top of the auditorium, and then climb the ladder down to the top of the gym.
That is correct.
Okay, just for clarity. Okay, Court, I see, Heather, are you done?
I'm done. Sorry, I tried to lower it.
No, that's okay.
There we go.
Court.
I'm done.
Yep, thank you, Court.
Yeah, I would just offer up, I do see a advantage in the aesthetic with the single height there. On the other hand, I'm seeing that we've got probably over 10 different elevations already in the school, such that maybe taking this one wouldn't adversely impact the overall look of the building.
Thank you, Court. Chris?
Just a clarification, the drawing we're seeing shows both the auditorium roof and the gym roof at the same elevation. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes.
And is that the rendering that has the gym 5 feet lower or not?
I don't think we have a separate rendering for that.
Okay, so just to be clear, what would happen is the 5-foot reduction would, roughly where we see the windows in the gym, it would probably come down somewhere in there. I got you. And then you'd go from the auditorium roof and you'd have some steps down to the top of the gym roof. Got it.
Right, yeah, the auditorium roof would need to stay at that consistent elevation to preserve enough height within the stage and the auditorium proper.
Yeah. And the gym area, you maintain all these windows. It's just a matter of bumping everything down, right?
That's correct.
Great. Any further questions? Any motions?
Move to accept 63.
Okay, we've moved to accept. Any seconds?
Second.
Thank you, Matt. Any discussion? Okay, let's call for a vote. Alexa.
Sorry, could I just ask,
Oh,
I want to be
sorry.
sure we're clear. This has no impact on the athletic program, correct? All of the scheduled athletic activities would not be impacted by this. Is that what we've decided here?
That's correct, Steve. Yeah, no, there's no adverse impact on its MIAA viability or sort of other athletic potential or PE potential within the space.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Steve and Matt. Charlie.
Yeah, just a quick one. Could we lower the auditorium by 5 feet and maintain that consistency at that level across that end of the building? Is that possible? Just a quick design question.
I don't believe it is, Charlie. We can take a look at it just to satisfy the curiosity, but I believe that the heights that we have in the auditorium are necessary predominantly from the stage in terms of the rigging that's within there. But I believe it's also necessary within the auditorium, the house or above the house. We can take a look at it though as we move forward, just as due diligence if this is accepted.
Is that a fly height? Is it a full fly?
It's so we don't have a full fly. It's
Mhm.
it's a partial fly is what we're
Okay.
referring to it as. Jen might be able to describe it more if we want to dive into the weeds, but
I don't necessarily want to, I just wanted to understand, but I get the rigging and the height requirements and moving things up and down from a performance standpoint.
Yeah, Hill has asked that question behind the scenes to SMMA, and the consistent response has been that the auditorium height is as low as it can go. So,
Okay, good question though.
yep.
All right, any other discussion before I call for a vote? Okay, Alexa, the motion is to accept this, so it would drop that ceiling and save, let me move my thing up.
104, 332.
104. Okay, Alexa, how do you vote?
Hate to do it without Russ here, but I'll vote yes.
Okay, Court,
Yes.
Heather?
Yes, as well. And I can see Frank now, so I'll watch for his vote.
Okay, so Frank's a yes?
Frank, wait, I don't know.
I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
yes,
I
Frank's
thought
a
you,
yes.
I thought you said you saw him, yes.
Oh, no, I can see, I was saying I got him on my screen so I could see him. I just
Oh,
couldn't.
perfect.
So yes, he's a yes.
Appreciate it. Peter?
Yes.
Okay, I'm a yes. Lori?
Yes.
Matt Johnson?
Aye.
Pat Nelson? We might have lost her. I know she's going into a training all day. Chris Popoff?
Yes.
Thank you. Charlie Parker?
Yes.
Matt Root?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
All right, that one passes.
Okay.
Let's keep this momentum going. Where are we?
66 is related to the AV systems. So this is a reduction in the AV systems in the auditorium and specialty spaces by 25%.
Can anyone on the design team talk us through what that means?
Ian, I think there was a slide in the last meeting. We did, now this, I mean, I do have to say this has not been vetted with the school at all. And I think that we would have to go back to them and decide what would have to be removed from the scope. We did review with our AV consultant, and she provided sort of some suggestions of how we might reduce that. And it's in, there is a slide, and she listed some potential items, but again, it would have to be vetted.
Okay. And just for clarity, AV is audio visual. So
That's
folks
correct.
know. Yep. within the auditorium.
There you
So
go.
the ability to, sound and visuals within the auditorium, a reduction on what is being proposed.
So this details out the actual reductions.
Okay.
Well,
proposed.
it's a
So-
suggestion to
everywhere.
get you there. Yeah.
Oh, it's not just in the auditorium.
Suggestions to get you there.
Oh, boy.
Right.
right.
So it could potentially and most likely would impact all of these spaces, the media center, the band and orchestra room, the cafeteria, the gym, and the auditorium.
Okay, I see Lori's hand, so I'm going to call on her.
Yeah, I haven't seen this list, so you're getting my first response, which is concern over this. We have, and I'll speak an example at the high school, we have retrofitted systems in all the large spaces for the most part, except the gym. I know that's the only space we have for the whole school to get together at the middle school. All of these are spaces that we use for large group events and meetings. And I am very concerned if we start taking these, could we get splintered down to maybe a few being more acceptable? Maybe. But at first look, there's a lot of concern there about what limitations we're going to have, and we're going to need to find ways to fix what we take.
Thank you, Lori. Matt Johnson.
Yeah, my question is, if you take this stuff out, you've still got 3/4 of the stuff. What is that? And how does that compare with what we have at our other schools? Is this school either before or after these cuts relative to our other facilities going to have, fancier AV or less AV or the same? I mean, what are we benchmarking here? It just seems like a very big number. And the other concern is AV has the shortest half-life, right? You talk about a 50-year building, but AV systems are not 50-year systems. They get obsolete very quickly.
Thank you, Matt. Lori, is your hand up to answer some of what he was asking?
No, go ahead and.
No, I don't have an answer, so I don't know if the designers can answer.
Yeah, if I could, so I don't know how, I can't speak to how that compares to what is at your other buildings, but I do know during design development, we went through multiple programming meetings with the school and to talk about what would be required in these spaces. And I don't believe that it was, in terms of scope, if you're saying like the Cadillac version, I don't think it was. I mean, it was what we need to function in these spaces as an auditorium, as a gym, knowing what's going to happen in those spaces in terms of events and performances. So
I'm just going to add one more comment and then I'll let others go. I've opened 2 schools in the last 10 years and both new schools, Concord and my prior district, we retrofitted all of this after the fact when it wasn't included. So it's money now or money later, and it's harder to do it afterwards for sure.
Thank you, Lori. And just for clarity, the PTZ pan tilt zoom camera, I assume.
Correct.
For those that don't know. Okay. Charlie, thank you, Lori.
Yeah, I just somewhat echo Matt's comment, but this is $1 million budget for AV. And one of the questions I had asked in my comments back when these proposals were submitted to us was, how does it look in the other schools? And I wanted Ian to look into that. What are the other schools that you've worked on, Ian, the other last 5 or 6 or 7 schools? What are the budgets in those cases? That would be one question. The second is, shouldn't this stuff be in FF&E? Why is it in the building? I guess this also goes along with Matt's question. The stuff only lasts 5 or 6 years, 7 years. I'm not sure this should be part of the capital side of the equation or the hard budget.
In my experience, there's never enough money in FF&E. And also we typically only provide portables under FF&E. So a system you can roll into the cafeteria or the gymnasium with a microphone that is not integrated into the building, but something that is portable and less quality of sound in my experience. But if others have comments on the professional team.
Yeah, so just to try and answer some of the questions here. So I think from a comparison standpoint that this AV package is very reasonable in comparison to other schools that we've worked on. We are talking about fixed equipment here versus equipment that is not fixed. We do have additional budget for both FF&E and technology, which we put at what we felt are also reasonable values for a school of this size. And you know, there was a process that this team went through, that we go through on every project, where you scope based off of the needs and the use of each space. And so we did go through that same process with the folks here at Concord, and hear, you know, what the intended use was of the spaces, and understand that, and you know, put together a package accordingly. So I don't see anything that's out of line here with what you would typically do in a school, just to speak in general.
Except that somehow the notion of reducing by 25% did get proposed.
Yeah,
So
I mean,
somebody must have thought that was doable and was okay given the needs.
well, I mean, it's thinking creatively on how to continue to reduce costs on this project. So it is one of the areas that was targeted. You know, it is, but it is a sacrifice at the same time.
And I'll just speak for the designers, because Lorraine's not here and Matt and Jen may not be comfortable saying it, but sometimes you put things on the BM and BE list that you recognize would be a hardship to the community, but that's something that the committee needs to balance and weigh. And we're hearing from Lori that if we don't spend the money now, we are going to need to ask her to spend it later. So for what it's worth, that's what I'm hearing. Heather, I see your hand.
And it just to speak on that, it is much easier to put it in now in a new building than to try and go back and retrofit this stuff and you know, pull cabling and do what you need to do to install these features at a later date. It could increase the cost of doing it.
Thank you, Ian. Heather?
So that's kind of what I was going to say, so I'll be quick, but I think it is not accurate. I don't think it's a fair statement to say, oh, this is technology, it's going to be obsolete soon anyway, why do we need it? Because the difference is the hardwiring. And I think all of our professionals are telling us that's what needs to be done. I do not think we should be kicking the can down the road to retrofit and spend more money to do it later. It just seems irresponsible. And I think we need to listen to our educational professional. And when she tells us she's opened a few schools and this is needed and it's a waste of money to retrofit, I mean,
Yeah, I agree with everything Heather just said. I also want to just point out that in the corporate world and in higher education, media centers and the media technology is growing at a rapid pace. And it's so important that we put the infrastructure in. This is how kids are learning and getting a lot of information these days, and to have to go back and retrofit just does not make sense to me. So this is money that I think is well spent. Thanks.
Thanks, Peter. Court?
Yeah, I know that we characterize any VM as sacrifice, and indeed it would be. But I think we need to remind ourselves it's in order to get the support of all our constituents. I would echo the request that we understand what is essentially still in, were we to take this value engineering. For example, you know, how robust is the set of systems in the gymnasium? How robust would be the systems remaining in the cafeteria and so on? Would be helpful.
Thank you, Court. Peter, your hand's still up. I assume you don't have anything further. Alexa?
I'm wondering if I can make a motion. I feel like we've discussed this a long time. I would make a motion to reject VE item 66.
Okay, we have a motion to reject. Any seconds?
Second.
Okay.
Steve beat
I
me
think-
again.
I think Steve beat you. He's quicker on the unmute. Okay, we have motion and a second. Any further discussion before I call for a vote?
I would, sorry.
Hold on. Charlie, do you have discussion?
Yeah, I just want to clarify the point on the infrastructure where the rough end and the wiring to these devices is very, very small compared to the actual cost of the devices themselves. So keep that in mind. It's really hardware that we're purchasing here, not install and wiring. That's where the bulk of the money goes.
Ian, while I'm taking the balance of discussion, could you put that description back up? The PowerPoint description that talks.
Yes.
Yeah, perfect.
Here you
Thank
go.
you. Yep. I see Steve, Matt, and Chris. So I'll go in that order.
I would think that our team could take this, what seems to be a flatline $1 million allowance, frankly, in the detailed estimate. I don't see it in front of me, that it's what it feels like, and seek to reduce that by 10% or 15%. The 25% that we're voting right now, and not in my mind, is impossible. But if we can further refine the scope to an acceptable level, I think that's prudent on our design team, and I hope that we can see that happen. Thanks.
Thanks, Steve. Matt?
I mean, I don't think we have that option, right? If we vote this one way or the other, that's what we're working towards. I don't see, right? Because the designers have already pushed back on us that we can't keep messing with the amounts or types of stuff. So, we really need to make a hard decision here. The second thing I'd say is this is the kind of item that I just feel like makes this committee vulnerable at special town meeting when somebody goes, there's an over $1 million AV system, and it has these pan and zoom cameras and all this stuff. It's a gold-plated system. So just be aware, this is the kind of thing that if we show discipline here, it could pay dividends in terms of getting the project approved.
Matt, could we revise the motion to say 25% isn't palatable? Can we make it 15%? And could we vote on something like that?
I think that would be great. Personally, I'd be willing to go for that.
Ian, and
from
hold on. I'm gonna finish discussion. It sounds like I will allow who made the motion, Alexa, if she wanted to rescind it and consider that, give that some thought, Alexa, and then I'd like to hear from the professionals if that's something that I guess we can tell them to do, but Corey, let me finish discussion. Yep, let me finish discussion.
I think it is contingent on our paid professionals to manage to the budget this committee provides. And I think they can do it. And I think that that fussing, if you will, is not inappropriate to expect of them. To Steve's point, and I think you're onto something here, we could, one path forward is we could see that the motion on the floor does not prevail and then get followed with another motion. This VM list does not make us unable to produce other motions. This was not a list produced by this committee. This committee can decide what to do. So, Steve, I just want to commend you for trying to move us forward. I do think that the school can be well served at less than $1 million plus on the hard costs, bearing in mind that we've got a lot of portables as well, and that we have shelf life on some of the hard.
I'm just going to move us along. I'm sorry, Court. You're saying some of the same things that others did. Alexa, do you want to rescind your motion, or do you want us to vote?
I don't.
Okay, I'm going to call the vote then.
Okay.
All right. Hold on. Where's my list? Alexa, how do you vote?
I vote yes to reject it.
Okay, Court.
No.
Heather.
Yes.
Frank.
I'm watching him. Frank, I can't see your hand. Okay, thumbs down for Frank, so no.
Okay, Peter,
Yes.
this is a tough one for me. I'm gonna vote no because I do hope we can find a happy medium. But I understand that if I don't want it to be 25%, I do think that Lori will have her hands full trying to retrofit this, and I hope that that's not where we end up. Lori?
To change the AV system, like there's $1 million AV system.
Yes.
Harry Rankin, you're not muted. Lori?
Yes.
Okay. Matt?
No.
Pat? Did she leave? Chris?
No.
Charlie?
No.
Matt? Root?
Yes.
Steve Stashewski?
No,
Was anyone counting?
I think we have 7 no's. and-
7 to 5 no's.
7 to
7 to
5.
5, no prevail.
Okay, so Steve, do you want to follow up with another motion?
Just to be clear, what just happened, we rejected we have accepted number 66, then we are going to take that 25% out of the budget. Is that what we
No.
just?
No, we are not
I
taking
thought that the
25%.
motion was to reject.
Yes, and I was
And
hoping
that
that
failed.
either 10 or 15. I mean, I do want to say to
Wait,
correct the
wait.
record, the pan tilt zoom is not a gold plated system. That's the norm, just so you know. But
I
just
thought
wanna-
that we were voting.
I thought we were
no
voting
Yeah, it's
to
accepted, not
reject this
rejected.
item, and the rejection failed, so we accepted this item.
Oh, we accepted it. Okay.
That's
All
right. It's
You
accepted.
got, all right. Thank you for correcting me. So it's been accepted.
Could I make a motion?
Reduce? Yes.
Could I make a motion to reduce the AV scope by 10% instead of by 25%?
Okay, we have a motion to reduce by 10%.
Second.
Thank you, Heather. All right, Alexa, how do you vote?
Don, can we discuss for a minute? How
Oh,
much money
sure.
are
I'm
we,
sorry.
how much money are
It's
we?
about 100,000, give or
Okay.
take. Based on 265 being 25%.
Okay,
don't-
thanks for the clarity.
I don't have a calculator in front of me and
But also to clarify, our status now is that we've accepted the 25% cut. So we're not
Yes,
talking
that's
about
correct.
0 or 10 now. We're talking about 25 or 10.
I disagree. I think we had a motion to reject this.
that's what I
And I
thought.
think there was a majority vote to reject the motion to reject it.
That's
So
right.
nothing happened. Nothing happened.
We're in
okay.
limbo, I think is what happened, right?
Okay,
So-
that makes sense.
So
Okay,
nothing happened, opening the door, should somebody want to make another recommendation
which
around
Steve
this
just
item.
did. Of 10% is his motion of the overall AV budget, not 25.
For purposes of discussion, I'd be happy to second that.
I think Heather did.
Forgive me, thank you.
That's okay.
So
Matt
we're
Johnson.
looking at,
Yeah, could I sort of
Hold on,
see you and raise you to 15%? That would get us below $1 million. Right now, we'd still be above $1 million with 10%.
that is something that I would be happy to do. I want the AV system to be under $1 million if possible. And if that's what 15% makes that happen, I think that is acceptable.
So-
So
So
I'm
can you
going-
withdraw
I'm
your
going to
motion
rescind my
and
second.
make it 15?
I'll make a motion to reduce by 15%.
Seconded.
And I'm not going to second that, sorry.
Okay. Okay, so the motion's been changed to reduce by 15% in lieu of 25%, and Matt Root seconded. I am going to, unless there's any discussion, I'm going to call for a vote. Alexa,
Yes.
we're voting to accept a 15% reduction on the overall AV estimate.
I
Estimated amount.
preferred the previous motion, but yes.
Okay. Court,
Yes.
Heather,
I still think we're creating more costs down the road, so I say no.
okay, Frank,
Frank is.
Is a yes.
He's a yes.
thank you. Peter,
Yes.
Dawn, yes. I hope we're not creating too many headaches, Lori. I'm sorry. Lori,
No.
Matt, Johnson, Pat Nelson's not with us. Chris Popoff. Did he say something, Chris? I'll come back to him, Charlie.
Yes.
Matt Root,
Yes.
Steve.
Yes.
Chris, are you there?
He is not here, Don.
Oh, maybe he did say he had to leave at 9:30. He sent me an email. Apologies. All right, we're down to 11 voting. Okay. All right. 15% reduction. What's next? Reduce work.
72B.
So the next is the millwork displays. You guys already rejected the idea of getting rid of them. Now we're discussing a reduction in millwork displays to 50%.
So moved.
To accept, you're moving to accept?
Yes.
Okay. Any seconds?
Seconded.
Okay, Matt Root, second. Any discussion?
I'm opposed. I'll just be that brief if that's helpful.
Okay,
Student work.
thank you, Lori.
So it's all the areas
There's
in
the
blue.
visual, yeah.
You'd be
That's-
cutting this in half.
Okay, so that's what's currently in the budget, what's shown in blue. And it would basically be taking half of that away. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay. Thank you. All right, Alexa, how do you vote?
Nope.
Court Booth,
Yes.
Heather Bout,
No,
Frank Cannon,
Frank, I can't see your hand. Yes.
Peter Fashalis,
No.
Dawn, I'm a no. Lori,
No.
Matt Johnson,
Aye.
Pat, Charlie,
Yes.
Matt Root,
No.
and Steve.
No.
Okay, if I did my math right, we're keeping that in the budget.
7-4.
7-4, thank you. All right, what's next?
Eliminate the roof davit and associated structure.
Yep. Can you show us the visual you showed us at the last meeting? There you go.
Yep, here's your visual here. So this is the structure that you would eliminate.
Required by code?
Not
No,
required by
this was
code.
requested by the facilities.
Requested by facilities. Okay, what would they otherwise do?
So right now, we just have the stair tower. There is the stair tower that goes up to the roof. But this is for, equipment that the elevator does not go up to the roof. So it's for equipment that they may need to maintain the units on the roof, but, can't carry up the stairs.
Okay, and the value was what, 29 something?
Right. Move to reject.
Okay, thank you. Do we have a
I had a
second?
question.
Second.
Okay, Steve, discussion?
Yeah, we're in discussion. Every single time I build any kind of building, this always comes up at the end, and the facilities maintenance folks refer to OSHA standards that require, no lifting of over 75 pounds. And I think one mobilization of a crane that would be required to lift anything that this could easily do would cost in the future maybe $30,000. 2 cranes, $30,000. So it's a wise thing to do now, and I think it'll come back later, and the facilities team will thank us. And for the price that we're seeing, I just don't think it's worth trying to nickel and dime this item out of the budget.
Thank you, Steve, for your perspective. Helpful to hear. Court.
Yeah, Steve or somebody else, it looks like a flimsy little aluminum device. Does it actually have a good capacity? Number one. Number two, Mr. Johnson, you reference reject. Does that mean accept the VM? I want to understand your motion.
No, it's reject this VM item. So in other words, keep it in the scope of the project.
Thank you.
That's
Thank
how I
you.
understood. Thank you. Steve, do you have a lot of experience with these? Or
So
anyone?
the one that was imaged, I think that's just a stock photo. If I were looking at it, I would look at the heaviest item that I would need to replace on one of the mechanical units, like being the motor or something similar, and based on that weight, design the roof davit to lift that.
Thank you.
Ready to vote? Alexa, we have a motion on the table to reject this, so keep it in the project. With
I
the-
will vote yes to reject it and keep it in the project.
Okay, so a yes keeps it in the project. Court,
Yes.
Heather,
Yes.
Frank,
Frank, I need to see your thumb. Yes.
Peter,
Yes.
Dawn's a yes. Lori,
Yes.
Matt Johnson,
Yes.
Charlie Parker,
Yes.
Matt Root,
Yes.
Steve.
Yes.
Thank you. All right, we're keeping that one. What's next?
Almost there. Couple more.
Yeah, yeah, let's get there.
76, eliminate green screen cable trellis.
We've talked about this, yeah.
I assume
Here
that
it
is
is.
this area that we're talking about. Design team.
That's correct.
So
I have my
eliminate
hand
any
up.
green here.
Yes, Charlie.
So are we clear that vines actually require cables? I've never been basically aware of that, number one. Number two, wouldn't kids climb on these cables? I'm just not sure that this is really a requirement. It just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. You know, we grow a lot of vines on buildings in New England and we don't have cables for them. So maybe somebody could explain both of those points.
I have no experience with vines, so I will stay quiet on this one.
Vines have-
Design team.
Yeah.
Is Bill still on the phone? This was,
I don't know.
Vines have something called stolons that grab onto cement, brick, and so forth. You know, if you're growing Boston ivy or, you know, any number of ivies, they all have a suction cup that grabs onto things like cement. And I don't, it's not clear to me that they even like cables. So now if you're growing morning glory up a telephone pole, yeah, that's a little different. But this is, I don't see the requirement for this. I don't think, you know, it's been vetted, or where are we at on this? Maybe Ian knows.
I think my understanding here is that you're trying to keep the vines off of the concrete structure. And what that does is it keeps the you know, the root system of the vines from penetrating the, you know, if it were a brick structure, then it would be invasive to the brick structure. This is a concrete structure. It's kind of the same thing. So there's just a potential of it causing maintenance issues in the future and sprawling of concrete and that sort of thing.
Well, then the idea would be not to have vines because they're going to get on there anyway if you have cables. I just don't see the point of this. So I guess I would continue with my position there.
Okay, Peter?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, this seems like something that could wait until the school's built, and then, you know, Lori and her team could figure out what makes the most sense there. And it may make sense or it may not. So I think we should just accept it.
Okay, is that a motion?
Yes,
see a
I'm
couple
making a
hands.
motion that we accept this.
Okay, motion to accept. Any second? We'll have discussion, don't worry.
Seconded.
Okay, thank you, Matt Root. Charlie, your hand's still up.
Oh, I
can
gotta
okay.
lower it, sorry.
Nope, that's okay. Steve, discussion?
What do we do with the concrete again? Item number 30.
We accepted to have the texture of the plywood versus smooth.
So the form face textured concrete is out. We now have smooth concrete.
That's what my brain remembers, but correct me if I'm wrong.
We accepted the VE, so
Yep, so
it's
smooth.
Yep.
It's because of the $40,000 was the value of the form face panels that you can't reuse. That was the difference. So if the concrete in that image is now smooth concrete and not the undulated textured concrete, and now we're going to remove the vine as well, we've just eliminated the entire, you know, architectural aesthetic of that portion of the image by removing the, you know, both of those items. I hope that, you know, there's a plan to reduce, you know, improve that in the future. I just don't know what it would be.
Okay, thank you, Steve. Who else's hand did I see? Heather.
So actually that to some extent was my question, which is could something else be there? Because if we now just have flat concrete, once again, it looks very institutional, and this is our entryway, and it's the amphitheater that we talked about being this wonderful, warm environment. So if we have flat concrete, is there something that could replace that? I mean, replace the vines if we get rid of them?
This is not about the vines. This is about the cables.
No,
So
it said,
you can still have vines. You're gonna have, the vines are gonna go on the cement anyway.
but that isn't that bad for the, I thought it's not good to have the vines attached to the cement.
I don't think we want to belabor this too much, but have you ever grown a vine on something?
Charlie, I'm not gonna get into my.
Well, if you grow a vine,
growing-
you grow a vine on a wall, it's gonna find the wall, whether you have a wire there or not. So
Okay, but
this
this
is
says
not about,
eliminate.
this is
So
not
can we
about
clarify?
eliminating vines.
Can we clarify? This says eliminate green screen, which I took to mean eliminate the vines and the trellis.
Design team, clarity?
Yeah, I need a clarification from the design team. So it says green screen / cable trellis.
Right, which is just the green screen and the trellis. It would not be the associated vines if we were planting them.
So the vines remain in the scope. You get rid of the green screen / trellis, which is the cabling system.
And just to clarify, because we don't have the benefit of having Mike on the line, I don't think, unless he's in the car and can chime in, but the plant material that he selected, I think we're jumping to the conclusion that it is a vine in particular. I mean, green screens are a product that are intended to have plant material grow up vertically on them to avoid the issues that Ian was mentioning in terms of the vine adversely affecting the substrate that it's growing on. So it is a very intentional product. I don't know enough about the plant material that we have called out to go on it to say that it can grow on or would grow on the wall without the green screen there.
I am actually here in my car. Can you guys hear me?
We can.
Yeah.
Yes.
Excellent. All right. Yeah. So I have, if I'm going to be honest, I do have some reservations about keeping the vines in without the green screen, only simply because they're better trained to grow up that, and we got to keep in mind that we're not going to have any irrigation here. Attaching vines to a green screen allows them to grow a little bit better, and this sort of we can noodle around with the soil mix and stuff like that, but without irrigation and the structured trellis for which it would grow on, I'm not completely confident that we would get the aesthetic that we're showing in those images.
Thank you, Mike. Heather and Charlie, your hands are still up. Do you guys have anything more? I see Alexa and Matt as well. I
Yeah,
wanna
sorry, just
move through this.
sorry, just to quickly finish up on that. So thank you, because that's helpful to clarify. So it could conceivably be the vines growing on the cement. Mine are growing on a trellis, and I just, from a quick Google search, I'm no expert on growing vines on cement. A quick search shows that it can be damaging to the cement and the materials. So I guess my concern now is that we'd be looking at something that's going to damage the material of the wall over time, which I don't think is a good idea to try to do that without the screen and cables.
Thank you, Heather. Alexa?
As neither Heather nor Charlie are botanists, I think this is a really good instance where we should defer to the experts. There's general consensus that the trellis system is necessary to protect the integrity of the structure. So that's where I weigh in on this.
Okay. Matt Johnson? Hand down.
I think that that this could be a maintenance and a safety concern, just the climbing opportunities that it offers and just the requirements to maintain all of those vines and the structure over time. The other thing is there are many possible uses for that wall. The art class can make a mosaic mural to put on it. You could put a foosball target. I don't know. Lots of things could be done with that wall over time. I just don't know that this specific treatment is really that appropriate for this area with no irrigation, with a middle school population, not, you know, an office building or something. And it just, it seems like it's a little precious.
Thank you. Peter Martini, is that you? I see your hand.
Yes, I just was gonna, I raised my hand. I've had some experience with vines. I raised my hand and then Matt said what I was gonna say. Thank you. I would recommend at this time to take the savings and we can come up with a plan there. The AE team is saying without irrigation, it's gonna be tough to grow those vines anyway. And vines are hard to maintain. They require a lot of maintenance. So I would recommend taking this view.
Thank you, Peter. Charlie, I'd
Yeah,
love to
they're
get to a
also-
vote. We're almost at 10, so.
They're also in the shade, so that makes this an additional problem. A lot of the time they're in the shade, so.
Okay. I'm going to call the vote because I think we've talked about this. Alexa, do we have a motion to accept this? Am I correct? We have a motion? Matt Root seconded it. Who
Yeah.
made it? Yeah.
Motion to accept.
Okay. I think we already had a motion and I think you seconded it if I'm not
Right, yes, sorry, I
Yeah.
was agreeing that that's. what we
Okay,
did.
okay,
Sorry.
thank you. I see. You were making sure I knew what we were voting on. Thank you.
Right.
So motion to accept, which would take it out of the project. Alexa, how do you vote?
No.
Court,
Yes.
Heather,
I'll give on this one and say yes.
Frank,
Frank is a yes.
okay, Peter.
Yes.
I'm a reluctant yes. I have no experience with vines, so I'm gonna go with Peter's suggestion because he's one of our paid professionals. And Lori, are you here? She had to step away. She sent me a text. I think maybe she, okay. Matt Johnson?
Aye.
Yes. Pat and Chris are not with us. Charlie?
Yes.
Okay, Matt Root
Yes.
and Steve.
Reluctant, yes.
Okay. Couple of reluctance. None of us really know. Okay, we have accepted that one. What's next? We're almost there, guys. Hang in there.
78.
Yeah.
You-
Eliminating
sorry.
a planter at the top of a
Uh,
retaining wall and
yep.
replace
Small-
it with a picket.
Small item, eliminate concrete planter and the metal or add a metal picket fence rail for fall protection. The retaining wall is to remain.
Designers, where is this wall? Does anyone know?
At the main entrance, Ian, if you
Ooh.
could bring up an image, I guess the image we were just looking at.
Okay, in my head, if we just got rid of some of that green potentially, I wonder if we want to maintain some green for 12,000 in a form of a planter. So which wall is it?
It's the same.
The circled
the
wall.
wall we were
Oh,
talking about, but it would be in between sort of the
structure.
W structure. For what it's
Mhm.
worth, the more we were looking at it with you and Cole, we would recommend to just take this, accept this piece and VE it out.
Okay. Is that a motion? No, I'm kidding.
I know.
All right.
If I could.
Does anyone have any
Yeah.
questions? Steve?
Could you explain why that would be your recommendation?
The more we were looking at, so that would require sort of a double retaining wall there. And then the structure would sit in the middle and then the plants would be in between. It just, to us, the more we started looking at the structure and, that could potentially hide some of, that we've got a detail here at the wedge of the V where it's, we're curving the steel and making it, adding some detail there, and that could potentially just sort of hide and take away from that.
So it's recommended from the design team that we remove the planter and accept item number 78. That would be something that you guys would be happy to do.
Yes.
I'll
He's
move
saying-
to accept.
Okay, thank you, Steve. A motion to accept.
Second.
Thank you. All right, discussion. Heather, I see your hand. Do you have discussion?
Just a quick question. Are there other places where we could have some green at the entrance? Just to your point, Dawn, about we just took away a lot.
But that was my gut feeling, but then hearing from others, it sounds like.
Yeah, no, I'm leaning towards accepting now. I get that. So I'm not going to argue this at all. I was just curious, are there other places where we could add
No.
green in at the front?
If I may, you know, there might be a possibility of adding some movable planters through an FF&E budget or something like that, so that you still have a splash of color and some green at the front entrance, but it's also probably a little more easy to maintain.
Okay, makes sense. Thanks.
Okay. So I'm going to call the vote. Alexa,
Yep.
Court,
Yes.
Heather,
Yes.
Frank,
Easy, yes.
thank you. Peter?
Yes, sorry, I muted.
That's
Yes.
okay. Dawn's a yes. Is Lori back?
I am, yes.
Thank you. Charlie?
Yes.
Matt Root?
Yes.
Oh, did I skip you, Matt Johnson?
You did, but I'm a yes.
Apologies. I got to Matt Root and I was like, wait, I didn't say, because I usually start with last names with you, because since we have two Matts. So sorry, Matt Root. Matt Johnson, how do you vote?
I said yes.
Yes. Matt Root.
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Sorry about that, Matt. All right, motion passes. What's next?
Okay. We spent a lot of time talking about bollards last meeting. I hate to rehash this, but this is all interrelated. So there was a 79B that was pending. You can only take one or the other here. So before you guys accepted replacing granite bollards with concrete filled galvanized steel bollards, and then those would be painted. You took a savings of $126,000. So the alternative to that is to take those same bollards and add a galvanized steel sleeve to it. So
Stainless steel sleeve.
sorry. Stainless steel sleeve to it. So now you're changing the look of it. So now you have a stainless steel sleeve, and that's less of a savings because you have to pay for those sleeves. That's, you know, in the tune of $50,000. So your savings realized would be $70,000.
So for clarity in my brain, if we
Total.
keep if we keep 79A at 126,000, give or take, we have granite bollards. If we no replace granite bollards with, oh, that's concrete. So okay. So
you have painted
galvanized.
Yep.
If we take B, we have stainless steel bollards.
sleeves.
And then if we reject both, we have granite. Is that correct?
That's correct.
All right.
And Ian, if it's helpful for maybe everyone to visualize what the stainless steel bollards are, Mike did prepare a quick slide that I can share screen with. If you give me a.
Yep.
All right. All right. So on the left-hand side is just the painted galvanized bollard, and they don't necessarily need to be yellow, but yellow in this instance. On the right-hand side is the sleeve, the stainless steel sleeve, which does have a very nice finished look. I know there was some conversation last week about sort of the aesthetic of what we want to see at the front of the building, but we have successfully used the stainless steel bollards in a lot of very sort of high-profile locations. They have a nice sort of feel and finish to them.
And for clarity, we're talking about the front, the back, like near the receiving and everything's still going to be what you're showing on the left, and whatever color is determined. Yeah. Okay.
Correct. Yep.
All right. Matt Johnson.
Yeah, we had the discussion last time about possibly reducing the number of bollards by changing the curbing in front of the building. And has there been any progress on that? Because of course that would yield a savings, potential savings, but I don't see it on the table here.
Mike, was that something you were able to look at since last week? Did we lose Mike?
No, he was in the car.
Yeah. Okay, so for me, if we want to receive some savings and go to, say, the stainless steel and ask the design team to further analyze if a reduction can be made, I don't think that's a true VE per se, but something we could certainly ask them to look at as they detail the building.
Okay, move to accept the stainless steel enclosed bollards option over galvanized painted, and to instruct SMMA to explore the reduction of bollards by changing the curbing in front of the building.
Second.
Okay, I think Alexa got that one. And so essentially you're motioning to accept, was it 70 something B, 79?
Right, and reject the.
And reject
other-
79A
Yeah,
because of it.
okay,
Okay, and then also ask the design team if there's any further reduction on number of bollards that can be received. We would appreciate them studying that.
I mean, actually, I do have, I'm sorry, I do have one more refinement, because it seems to me that in the bus lane, we could have painted galvanized bollards. In front of the building, we could have stainless steel bollards. In the bus lane, these yellow buses, yellow bollards, looks great. I don't see any problem with them along that row. What I see it would be nice aesthetically is put them in front of the building and as few as we need.
Mhm. And again, they don't have to be yellow. They can,
You're right, but I'm just saying painted bollards along the bus lane, I mean, it's a bus lane.
yeah.
So you're talking about this row here.
You're not
There,
sharing.
there are
Ian.
2 rows as it stands right now, right?
There's 2 rows
I
on
mean,
the
it's the
bus based on
majority
my
of these
recollection. Yep,
bollards
there you go.
is these lanes, the bus lanes. And they're, you know, along an athletic field and all. I just don't know that the aesthetic needs to be stainless steel there. I think entering the building with our nice canopy and all that stuff, yeah, make them stainless steel there.
Okay, so here's what I'm going to recommend, Matt. Accept 79B with the request that they look at the number of bollards and the potential to change the bus lanes to the painted galvanized.
I mean, but can't we just specify the painted galvanized for the bus lanes?
You can tell them, you can direct them to do it that
Yeah,
way. I
think
don't know
that
what
would
the number
create a
will be
savings
on
that
the
would be in
savings, like we
between
don't.
the 2 numbers that we've got here, right? And in fact,
Yeah,
probably
so-
closer to the bigger number, probably closer to 100 grand. Than
It'll-
to 7, you know.
It'll be somewhere in between.
Yeah,
70
but
and
I think it'll
120.
be on the higher side because there are just more bollards over there. Okay, so so to restate my motion, move to accept 79B for the bollards in front of the school and 79A for the bollards along the bus lanes and direct SMMA to seek ways to reduce the total number of bollards in front of the school by changing curving.
Okay. Who seconded that? I forget.
It was me, but I don't want to second that.
Okay,
Second,
I second.
thank you, Court. Discussion, Charlie.
What about the bollards along the sidewalk that go down, that goes in front of the instructional wing? What happened to those? Did those get removed?
Where?
No, that's what we would be asking.
No, there's a
Not
sidewalk.
those,
that goes
the
in-
ones in front of the instructional wing. We said for now, they're still in the design scope and they would be, oh, hold it, sorry.
I'm
There are
talking
none
about, I'm talking about the bollards on the sidewalk that runs to the eastern corner of the building. There were bollards on there and it looks like maybe they were taken away.
Where on the screen were they?
Were they removed or?
I don't know where you're
I'm
asking.
not following. All the bollards, there's 69 bollards being proposed. They're all outlined in red.
Okay, so that's it. So that's the total bollards on the site. Good.
That's right.
Hold on, with the exception, there's some in the back, I think, but those have never.
No,
been
they're
loaded.
okay, whatever you do with those, that's.
There's some here, but they're required to protect equipment.
Yeah.
Of course. Okay, Heather.
Thanks. So my question is about actually maintenance on galvanized steel versus stainless steel. Is there a rust issue and a maintenance issue that we're creating if the ones in the bus lane are galvanized steel? That's the first question. I don't know if there's anybody who can answer that.
Are they, I sort of have a follow-up to that. Are they like factory painted galvi? Or are they field painted? I guess, I don't know. There's different ways to paint galvanized steel. I'm not sure what was included here.
Jen, I'm not sure if you know specific detail. I mean, a lot of times we're hot dip galvanizing them, so they're sort of shop finished in terms of the weather protection, and then they're field painted when they get out there.
That's typically what they would do, is field paint them.
Okay. but there's a higher likelihood of rust and maintenance issues, right? With galvanized steel versus stainless steel.
That's correct.
Okay. Then I'll also weigh in that based on maintenance, and also when we say look and feel, I understand your differentiation, Matt, on this, but when we look at the building, we should be looking at it from the street. And if we're trying to keep it nice looking with stainless steel, I think all of the bollards are relevant in that. So I liked the motion first, and I'm not sure what to do about this one because I don't like splitting them like that.
Okay. Steve?
I hate to be the purist, but I think the granite bollards are a locally sourceable material that would be preferable for the look of the school. And with pricing and availability of stainless, we might be challenged to save that much money. So I'm gonna not vote for any of this unless it's granite.
Okay, thank you, Steve. I see Charlie and Alexa. Charlie.
No, I'm done.
Okay, Alexa.
Yeah, I mean, I had thought that stainless steel seemed like a decent compromise to the granite, but this hodgepodge does not make sense to me.
Okay, I'm going to call the vote. So the motion is to have stainless steel parallel to the front of the building, painted galvanized that are perpendicular along the bus line drop off, and then asking for a study to further reduce if possible.
And we're talking about both rows along the bus,
That was my understanding.
just to clarify.
Yep. Okay, Alexa.
No.
Court.
Yes.
Heather.
No.
Frank.
I'm looking for him. Yes.
Yes.
Peter.
No.
Dawn's a no. I have concerns about the painted galvanized. Lori.
No.
Matt Johnson.
Yep.
Pat and Chris are not with us. Charlie.
Yes.
Matt Root
Yes.
and Steve.
No.
Okay, I have 6 no's. Are we at 11? Is it 6-5?
Yes.
Okay, so that failed. Does anyone want to make a different motion?
Well, actually, I would be, I don't know. Never mind. I'll let someone else make a motion.
Okay. Any?
I mean, the
follow-up
thing
motions?
I'd say is if we had just a limited number of bollards in front of the building instead of that big long row, I'd
Mhm.
be okay with the few of them being, with them being granite.
Okay.
But they don't need to be granite along the bus lanes.
Yeah.
Could I make a motion to reject both 79A and 79B and direct the design team to reduce the number of bollards?
Again, I don't think that granite bollards are functional in the bus lanes.
You can make that motion, Steve.
I'll second the motion and we can discuss.
Okay, discussion.
You're maintaining granite material?
Yeah.
That's part of
But
the motion.
fewer. He's saying take some out and make the ones that remain granite. Yes, Heather.
So my question then is on safety in terms of reducing the number of bollards. Do we end up with a safety issue where people could drive a truck into the front of the school? Or are we assuming that if we direct them to reduce the number, it's only within a realm of safety? I guess I'm not sure where that goes in terms of reducing the number.
Yeah, I would expect the curbing would be raised along the front of the building to reduce, limit the amount of area that is necessary for assisted drop off to closer to the canopy and have elevated curbing throughout the rest to eliminate a need for some of the bollards. But yeah, safety would be have to be primary. I mean.
Got
So
it.
the
Okay,
curb-
so the way to reduce the number of bollards is to add curbing to some of it.
I thought that's
okay.
what we discussed last time.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, that makes sense. Thank you. I just needed the reminder. That's helpful.
I don't know that gives us a definitive amount here so I guess we can call the vote and see what happens.
Yeah, if you accept it, then we'll pursue it.
Okay,
and then come back with a
the defined amount.
response. Yep.
Okay. Alexa,
Yes.
Court,
Yes.
Heather,
Yes.
Frank,
Frank is yes.
thank you, Peter,
Yes.
Dawn's a yes, Lori,
Yes.
Matt Johnson,
No.
Charlie,
Yes.
Matt Root.
All right, I should have said this. I think I'm a no, because if we reject this, then we can't enter, or if we accept this motion, then we can't entertain a motion to go with 79B.
That's correct.
So I'm a no.
Okay, Steve.
Yes.
All right, motion passes with 2 noes. Okay, and we don't know the amount. We'll have to hear back. All right, last but not least.
Remove bevel at CMU exterior walls. And here is the graphic. Can you guys, Matt, can you walk us through it, or Jen?
Yep, so this is just to provide a little bit of texture. You can see the walls highlighted in blue on those axonometrics is the locations for this, but it would essentially provide a shadow line, adding a little bit of texture to those elevations where we have just large expanses of solid CMU wall.
Yeah, so the top is the south facade, so forest facing facade. This is the north elevation along, what is this, the auditorium and gym,
That's correct, yeah.
right?
I have a question. Can you, instead of beveling, can you like put the brick back half an inch, or can you do a struck joint on your joint to get a shadow line, something different than actually a beveled brick to achieve a similar look of breaking that up?
Yeah, we could look at alternate options of, it probably wouldn't give you the strong shadow, the same shadow line, or, but yeah, we can definitely look at other alternatives that aren't necessarily going to impact the cost.
Yeah, so like if we were to accept this and ask you to kind of look at either an inset brick or a some type of different joint to achieve a shadow line, that's a possibility. Okay, Matt Johnson.
Yeah, move to reject the VE for the north elevation and accept for the south elevation.
Interesting hybrid. Okay.
Second.
All right, we have a second. Okay. Any discussion? Okay, let's call a vote then. Alexa.
Yeah, seems reasonable.
Yeah. Court.
Yes.
Heather.
Yes, I like
Frank.
it.
Yeah. Frank.
Frank's a yes.
Awesome. Peter.
Yes.
Dawn's a yes. Lori.
Yes.
Matt Johnson.
Aye.
Charlie.
Yes.
Matt Root.
Yes.
Steve Stashewski.
Yes, it's unanimous.
And we go out on a high note.
Yay.
Amazing.
Good idea, Matt. Good idea. I was thinking differently. I was like, well, change, you can achieve shadow lines other ways, but I'm down with that motion. All right. Are we through everything?
That's it. Good work.
All right. And it sounds like we need a little bit of clarity on these last couple as far as what the actual savings will be received. And same with the AV for what it's worth, if you want to go back and highlight that one, because we took a percentage, so it's different than what was proposed, right?
Yeah,
So, oh, you already,
I'm just showing it as a plug, but
yeah, okay. Oh my God, you guys, thank you. What a day. All right, so will you come back to us? Okay, a couple of things. Do we need a meeting next week? Lori had suggested that maybe to talk timing. Maybe that doesn't need to be a 3-hour meeting.
Hill's been telling us for weeks we're behind on some other things, so I think we need a business meeting.
Proprietary votes and other things that we have kind of kicked the can down the road. So, okay.
But to your point, if we could do less than 3 hours, that would be excellent.
think all of us would appreciate that. Okay, and then,
An hour and a half would be awesome, Don. If we can keep it short of 9 o'clock.
I would love that. That'd be great. Okay, so we're going to, in the meantime, maybe we can get a chart that gives us where we are with things ahead of that meeting. Professionals, that would be appreciated. So we can all kind of nod our heads and say, here's where we are, especially ahead of the next select board meeting, which would be the following Monday. And then Lori, you're prepared to report where we are, give or take, tonight at Finance Committee if that comes up and there's questions about that. Okay. So next meeting, Thursday. I don't even have a date on that. I'm getting to public comment, so don't worry, I haven't forgotten. Just while we're talking about this. So next week it would be the 29th at 7:30, and we'll kind of button up some of the things we've pushed off because of the very important VM discussions. All right, Alexa has to leave, that's fine. Okay, public comment. No one? Dean Banfield.
There we go. I'm now visible. So that's
yes,
good.
We can see you. Thank you.
Thank
Dean.
you. I want to commend the committee for the hard work you guys just did. That you went through a great deal of detailed information. In some cases, you didn't really have that much detail and you made some decisions. I just want to highlight a few things that I observed in, and I also want to appreciate that you provided me with the underlying detail that the committee doesn't even have, which is how these estimates were arrived at. So I really appreciate being able to look through that stuff. And
did the committee not have that? Apologies if not. I mean, I can certainly share it. It's the backup to all the estimates, which is quite detailed. It's hundreds of pages,
detailed.
Dean. It's,
yes, well, no,
I
it's
haven't
actually not
seen it.
hundreds of pages, but there's a lot of
feels like
detail
it.
in there.
It's a lot, yeah.
So, but I had a day to go through it, and there's a lot there. I haven't had all the time I need, but I've done some things. One thing I think I'd point out that came out of this meeting is that you accepted a revision. I'm sorry, there's somebody else talking.
Yes. Oh, okay. You're muted now.
Got it.
Okay. You accepted a revision to the rear terrace and lawn space, but I think that the nature of that revision means that you no longer need the wooden bridge. Based on where the 183-foot elevation arrives, you arrive at the bottom of the concrete underneath the glass bridge. You do not need the wooden bridge. Won't be a thing anymore. So that's just, you go look at that, but I think that's true.
Yeah, you're a little deeper under the part of
yeah, the
building that
way
covers.
they
We'll ask our professionals
yeah,
to
the
weigh
way
in on
they
that
change
since
the
they're not
slope
here.
of that, you actually walk all the way down to the level of the door, in the classroom wing, etc. So yeah, so I don't think you need the wooden bridge anymore. So that's an item that probably come off your list. Just one thing. There was a healthy amount of conversation and various back and forths about compromising the AV plan and the specialty AV. I just want to call out some of the expenses that are in there that are just eye-popping to me. Okay. In the band room, there will be $180,000 sound system. That's a pretty expensive sound system for the band room. They're going to be making music in the band room. I really don't get that. In the gymnasium, the sound system is going to cost over $200,000. And there will be an additional $35,000 smart gym, controller for all the, whatever that is. Don't really know what that means. $35,000 for that. In the cafeteria, you'll have a $130,000 sound system. And in the auditorium,
Dean, I don't want to be rude. I just want to point out that this is based on what the users are saying that they need to function.
Well, somehow a $207,000 sound system with 20 speakers in the gym feels like a lot of sound.
I think that's the only place we can do all. I don't want to get into a back and forth, but I do want to point out that's the only space that accommodates an all school event. And there'll be 700 plus faculty in there. and the
200,000 so you can hear somebody give an address. Okay, I'm just saying.
Mhm.
Just a few other big expenses that are in the list, okay? You have $1.3 million to outfit a 3,800 square foot amount of kitchen space. Now, I understand, I've worked in commercial kitchens. There's a lot of big equipment in commercial kitchens, but $1.3 million is a lot of money to outfit a 3,800 square foot space. So, and this is outside what you've all been talking about today, but we have $1.26 million for the phone system, what's called data switches, loose AV, computers, and lab equipment. So that's another big bucket of money that, you know, some of this stuff needs to be looked at. All I'm saying is it needs to be looked at. We just approved almost all of that. And with a 15% reduction, I think you could get a 50% reduction on some of these speaker systems with no problem. That was $500,000 worth of speakers that you've just approved with a 15% reduction. You can do better. I think you can do better. And I think it needs to be looked at a little more closely.
Thank you for your comment.
All right, so thanks.
Yep, thank you. Any other public comments? Last chance. Okay. Is there anything I'm missing on the agenda? I lost it in all the things I have open today. Was that everything? New business we covered. We do need to have a meeting next week. Apologies. This is sort of all the things that the professionals need from us as far as movement forward to get the documents complete. Yeah, hopefully it will be a shorter meeting. Thank you all for your patience. With that, I guess we'll adjourn. We don't need a motion or a vote.
Thanks, Don.
Want to say thank you, everyone. I know today was not an easy day, but appreciate everyone's insight and respectfulness. So everyone, very much appreciate your time and your effort on this. We'll see you next week.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Good
Thank you
work.
so much. Thanks, professionals. Okay.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.